Welcome back to the home studio, and welcome to episode 82 of the Stevie Richards Show. According to my co-host, who we're going to go to in a quick second, this show is more extreme than the show we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about his words, not mine, because I'm not sure if he can convince me. There were a lot of elements that killed the new ECW, but according to my co-host, he says this show had a lot to do with it. Welcome to the show, my co-host. Welcome to the show. You're here every week.
Hello.
James Romero.
I thought you were going to do the intro longer, so I was chewing on a sweet. Anyway, I'm going to chew in the microphone for a minute. Everybody, thank you. This is going to be episode 8 of ECW on Sci-Fi, 2006. It's the one where it's in the Hammerstein Ballroom, headed by Big Show versus Batista. And if you watched it at the time, you may well agree with me that this was the show that killed ECW's chances. And it was because of their bad booking and because the fans reacted to said bad matchmaking, essentially. So that is my argument. Other people might say it was the first episode, which we are going to do on a future episode as well.
That was my site. That was the other opening I was going to do. The zombie, rest in peace.
Yeah, I was going to say how he died
I got it
really
right
young.
this time. I got it right this time.
Oh yes, yeah. Saying rest in peace to wrestlers who are alive. I don't know if was that made. Did that make it into the show? Was that a short?
No. Chris is going to make a short out of that. He's already on it. When I message, I go, you might have a funny little show. Oh, I know which one you're talking about right away. Now, this may be a new record. You just mentioned the main event of the show, and you've already convinced me during the intro. Before the intro, yeah. Big Show versus Batista, Hammerstein Ballroom. I would say that would do it.
So this is going to be probably a two-parter because I've got some news stories like leading up to the show as well. We're going to be talking about CM Punk's debut. I've got to bring up, what was he, not the Rebel, what was he called? He's basically the loser Shannon Moore because they're trying to do like a Punk thing with him as well. We've got to mention that for some reason. The opening match as well. We'll probably get to the Batista thing and everything else on part 2. So the schedule for the next few weeks is going to be, the show that killed ECW's chances today. It's going to be next week. It's going to be the Royal Rumble review, which we're going to post early, of course. The week after, it's going to be fan questions. Then the week after that, it's going to be ECW, the show that killed the company, finally. All the nails in the coffin, part 2,
you're going to put
in
the
3 weeks'
Simpsons
time.
thing in there? It seems like after this, it's like, stop. It's already dead.
Before that, dead in 2000, man. But
yeah.
Oh, hey, when Stephanie McMahon had that, leather Kangol cap with ECW on it in 2001.
She stole it from Shane, too. They both did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, have you seen Shane's video on that?
No, I'm going to watch it. I'm really happy to see Shane after we stole the channel and really started him off with 2 strikes against him. I'm glad to see. And of course, what did I do? Hey, who's running the channel? I want to see how we can fill that audio out and do everything and send him some plugins.
Oh, did you actually reach out?
No, I got to reach out to Moose. I text Shane, but that gets a reply about once every 6 years.
Mm.
But if I say, did you hear what happened to Ric Flair? Man, he gets right back to me. That's how I hook him. So speaking of which, sorry, just like Matt Damon on Jimmy Kimmel, Ric Flair gets bumped again. Sorry, maybe next week. Or actually maybe next month.
Yeah, it's going to be toward the tail end of next month if we do a Ric Flair episode, which we've been planning to do for weeks. What can I say? Stuff happens.
Not the one people are expecting based on the cameo stuff and everything. This is basically going to be strictly a professional career retrospective type thing, talking about different things. We'll get our opinions in there, but I believe just without a show note or a format, I believe it's going to be an overall positive episode on, the career of Ric Flair.
Yeah, wait for those views to tank because nobody wants positive.
Okay.
Right, yeah, all right. Stevie knows what I'm talking about. Every single time we said we're definitely doing a positive episode, and the views do terrible.
Hey, Finn Balor is awesome. We love him. 9,000 views. Kaiser almost gets his neck broken, and Viking guy shoots on him. 180,000.
Man, I didn't realize how much we love Vikingo on this channel until a few days ago, man. That video did great.
Yeah, please do something else. You're gonna be able to buy him another electric Jaguar. Come on, Vikingo. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Vikingo, yeah, near enough. Why not? So we'll do the intro, which I've left blank. Listmania. I've got Listmania out there. The latest video is the Royal Rumble. What is it? Have you seen it?
Yeah,
I
the
forgot.
accidental eliminations. I did watch it. Excellent video. You got like, according to my YouTube, you got like 27,000 views in the first day. That was awesome.
Yeah, I should get more than that, though. I should get 1 million. There's also my channel as well, James Romero, if you just want to hear me rant about Logan Paul and his latest scams, of course, as well. But Stevie, more importantly, how's Stevie Richards Fitness, where he's doing, continuing the documentary style of various fitness crazes and, rises and falls of things like that. And then, of course, there is the Stevie Richards cameo, the much vaunted Stevie Richards cameo of Ric Flair's cameo is potentially a disappointment to you as far as the concept and what you might get for it, go on to Stevie Richards' cameo. The link is in the description of this and all YouTube videos, and you will find yourself, one, much fuller of pocket, and two, much fuller of heart as well, when Stevie gives you far more than your money's worth, quite frankly, on the cameo. I still say he's charging too little, but how is Cameo doing? I always like to know.
It's doing very well. I have a couple I got to do after we record this episode if I still have a voice. From all the excitement of the new ECW, I might lose my voice from screaming. This is hardcore. But yeah, it's going very well. And of course, the next thing is patreon.com/Stevie Richards. We didn't do one, but we did 2 watch-alongs for this Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time here in the States. First one is myself versus Spike Dudley to keep with the Royal Rumble theme. This was a pre-show. We should actually talk a little bit about these live heat matches right before the pay-per-views, now known as PLEs. They were a very exciting warm-up match, and they had a different feel to them. And I feel like that blueprint could work today, especially with one of the most expansive rosters in WWE history to give 1 or 2 matches on a kickoff show. And the second one is, Spike. I love working Spike. Right up there with him, the Hurricane, where basically we re-retired and re-banned the Vertebreaker.
Why doesn't Collision do that? Like, AEW Collision could be the live show. Like, you always do, like, one live show for, per month or whatever for the pay-per-views. You get people watching it for once.
That's an excellent idea. And Collision is kind of an underground show in a way that could have talents you don't usually see and see the crowd reaction as kind of like a focus group and say, wow, they really reacted to this person off the last couple live collisions. Maybe we should put them on the maybe we should put them on the pay-per-view. I heard he's a smartass.
Yeah, also, you get to see occasionally Andrade removing his trousers, which apparently was a
Is he allowed to wrestle again?
Yes, he is. He's been there for a week. Also, this is his second match back, so he is allowed to wrestle again.
Wouldn't it be crazy if they just kept pulling him off TV? And I mean, these people are pretty petty, you know what I mean? Oh, we forgot. There's another reason why we keep you on there to no compete for a year.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I don't think anyone that wouldn't build up the the hype for his eventual return. I just think people would just care just as little. I don't think it'd matter. Oh yeah, he's finally there. Good. Moving on.
It's not as a talent, it's not a great place to be when he works hard. His stuff is impressive, but if it's not clicking or it feels bland or stale, the bumps still hurt the same. The travel's still the same. Being away from your family and the people you love, it's all the same. But then you're just like you said, he can get banned every week and make a comeback and people wouldn't seem to care. That's a terrible spot to be in.
Yeah, well, guess what? He made a comeback on Collision that nobody watches. And then the second match was on Collision, which, well, I say nobody, but comparatively few people watch. And that whole Kenny Omega thing where he attacked Kenny Omega and looked to be feuding with him, forgotten.
Well,
so now he's just on Collision.
Adults. They're very mature. These wrestlers are mature and can get over it. Much like after somebody puts you in an ambulance and takes you to the local medical facility, then the next week you pass them in the hallway and you just give them a stare. You're like, okay, can't grieve forever, right? So you actually did a video, speaking of the James Romero channel, which you left out. Definitely go subscribe to that. You did a video about concerning the AEW roster, Meltzer and Alvarez, kind of going back and forth on social media. Yep, I got the eye roll.
Yep, I forgot about that. I did it 3 days ago and already forgot, or 2 days ago and already forgot. That's my brain for you. Yeah, that was kind of embarrassing when you kind of look at it. And he picked some of the worst examples in the world. It's like, hey, these people are always in the same position for years. No, they're not.
Cameo, by the way, while you were talking. Keep talking about it.
Yeah. Cameos, you say? Yeah, and Meltzer, among 15 names he mentioned, half of them didn't even qualify. And the worst was, hey, this guy, and keep in mind the caveat was, in the same, like not in the same place as when they debuted for the company over a course of years. That was crystal clear. Once again, reading is your friend, and Meltzer's incapable of doing it or comprehending, apparently. He picked Clone, or Clon, who's had 3 matches.
The what?
Clon. He's, right, do you remember
Clone?
Hologram? Yeah, El Clon.
Wait a minute. I love these names. So we have Clone and Hologram Wrestling, which, okay.
Well, no, we don't,
Master?
because
When's Mirror Master come out? And Rhino and, Morbius.
Rhino and Hippo. Because that could be like the opposite. But basically, Clone is a palette swap of Hologram. They were going to feud, then Hologram got injured, and then Clone just got took off TV. And then he came back, and then he's had 3 matches.
So Clone
would you believe
and
Don
Hologram,
Callis is managing him?
Dude, I'm going to sound like Disco Inferno now. So Clone and Hologram, then we can create 2 more characters to feud with Clone and Hologram, and we can create 3-Eye Atlas and Planet X, and then they can all fight on Collision.
Yeah, ultimately. Did you ever play Super Smash Brothers where you had to go like 100-man melee, and all you do was just face like 100 like wire outline characters? It's basically, you could just populate AEW with them at this point. So we've got Hologram, Clone, Circus Hall of Mirrors. I don't know. You call them any name you
want.
like
3-Eye Atlas and Planet X. I think that would be great names for wrestlers.
We are going to stop naming wrestlers now, before we get to Royce Keys. And we're going to go into ECW straight away. So this is episode 8 of ECW, WWECW on Sci-Fi. And I contend, and I will argue, well, probably won't, you probably agree with me, this is the match, this is the bout, this is the show that killed off ECW's chances of ever becoming anything other than a complete failure in its initial, I guess, guise with WWE. But before we get there, I thought I'd give you a bit of news for you to react to. Around this time, the couple of weeks before this very show, as I used to do with Shane Douglas, in fact, with big shows. And I'll skip through a few of these, and we'll get to... we've got to get to the Great American Bash. We've got to go that in depth. But in the run-up to episode 8 of Sci-Fi, which was August 1st, 2006, here's some more news. Wrestling Society X is about to tape 8 episodes of a new show for MTV. Bill Goldberg is teasing turning up to TNA's Hard Justice pay-per-view, but of course never does. Jim Cornette is the new management director, or whatever he was calling himself in TNA. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon give birth to their first child, meaning that Paul Heyman had more free reign to script the shows. So that was good for him, I guess.
They didn't give the baby, they didn't make the baby like vice president of like merchandising or anything?
No, not the champion either.
Not for a couple of years.
No. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, no, I've already said that. WWE's 2 biggest women's stars, Trish Stratus and Lita's contracts, are both finishing up, and both would leave the company as full-time wrestlers. Of course, Trish's was markedly more tasteful than Lita's, as we remember. I didn't know this one. Ted DiBiase was taken off the writing team. I didn't know he was ever on the writing team.
No, I didn't know. I remember when he was a full-time agent. He was my agent for a few house shows and a couple TVs. I never knew he was on the writing team. Do you think he was taken off, but he was hoping to be taken off based on... He had a front row seat for Unreal back in 2006 with everything we watched.
Yeah, he could have been the road dog of that like era, maybe. He would remain a full-time agent, and Jeff Hardy is about to be rehired, which was its own sort of source of controversy, considering that he popped quite a few times for failed for drug testing, when they weren't even doing drug testing, really, in the early 2000s, and that's why he went to TNA for a bit. Anyway, this is the first bit of news I want to read to you, Stevie, and tell me what you remember of this and what the story was. Elevated liver enzymes. A couple of weeks earlier from this show, there was a Great American Bash 2006 pay-per-view, which was the most cursed pay-per-view ever as far as health concerns go, or in this case, kind of made-up health concerns, because, I don't know, what do you think? These tests were like too sensitive or something like that, or they didn't realize quite what these results meant as far as health goes. But several people got pulled from the show last minute due to elevated liver enzymes. Now, WWE had been ratcheting up the healthcare and performer testing just around this time in the wake of Eddie Guerrero's passing the autumn prior. But this test, for whatever reason, just kind of picked out people for whatever this ailment caused. I don't know. And almost completely ruined the pay-per-view to the point that they nearly cancelled it. What do you remember of this whole liver enzyme thing in the tests?
I do remember the locker room kind of confused by it as well. Now, medical technology back then compared to now 20 years ago, I still don't know exactly what would elevate liver enzymes, what it would be. But, the body's a really funny thing. And then you introduce, very little sleep, a lot of travel, other things, time zones, everything. I'm just throwing all the context into this. And then was Collie one of the people that tested for it?
He
I mean, you're
was, so
talking
it
about a
ended up,
freak right there. His organs are one of his organs is the size of our heads, So everything's elevated in his, pun intended. So, but you said a few wrestlers, which I remember. I remember what your next paragraph was. The boys definitely thought elevated liver enzymes, and I think it was a joke for a couple months when somebody walked by that was obviously on, if you know what I mean. Like, dude, his liver enzymes are super elevated. The boys would joke about that. But I have to give WWE credit, erring on the side of caution in a lot of ways after Eddie. And we did sense that with the company as well. There were a lot of questions, a lot of people observing, people that didn't feel right would go to the office without fear of reprisal or lose, people always lose their spot. But when it comes to health and everything, it almost for a time turned into a company that really was looking out for the health and well-being of the talent. I guess it could be a PR thing too. God, if we have more people dropping, this is going to be really bad. But I sense both those things happening kind of at the same time from my limited experience around limited amount of people.
with the enzyme thing. We'll get back to that in a minute. But do you remember? So I imagine 2006. Obviously, they put the drug testing back into the situation after about like 10 years off. I think they pretty much stopped doing it in 96, 97, I think. And then they'd only selectively test people who are quite clearly a problem. Yeah, like you many times. But no, you got tested because you quite clearly weren't a problem, so they could get some, I guess, clean urine. Um, would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, Doring and I got tested on a weekly basis for almost got to be 6 months to a year. 6 months for sure, more than that. And this was during the time where Stevie Richards, the character, had trouble, quote, as Joey Styles would say, getting out of the gate here in new ECW. So I couldn't even get on the show that killed it. So yeah, I mean, I was tested just about every week. Doring was also right there with me getting tested as well.
Do you think, like, if you've got to fill in a form and you're about to put your name in and they grab the form away, so don't worry, we'll deal with that.
I never filled a form out.
Ah, well, there you go then. Right.
Got to be handed one to fill it out.
Generally speaking, not the drug test, but like, when did they start, doing more like physicals and blood testing just to see where you were at health wise? Was it around this time?
Yeah, it was literally, I think, even right after Eddie or not, like, as far as logistically that they could put these stress tests together and everything. Here's a story, and it's not the funny origin, obviously, it's very tragic, but I remember Doring and I, especially Doring and I were joined at the hip during the new ECW, that when they were doing these stress tests, number one, he said to me as a joke, which I took as a compliment, he goes, there's a time limit when you hop on a piece of cardio. The other people have to use this. Then we were bringing the Sandman a beer in his cane and said, you know what, if you don't get on the treadmill for your stress test, drinking a beer, holding the cane up, yelling, yo, while you do, yeah, while you're running on it. Then we asked Dreamer if he could last the entire 2 minutes on the tread. We just turned it, the boys, we turned it into a complete, just funny thing. But I do remember that they were like, it was like everything that they had the EKG there. And then when you went on the stress test, you were wired up for that. And it was a real stress test to the point where I got blown up. Back then, my cardio was really, really good. So they were really trying to push everything. They had a team of people there, half a dozen, maybe more, that you would go station to station. And we're talking about, what the commission should do before every single show, to make sure you're good to go. But also, I think even one or two times we got blood tests, and they really wanted to make sure. And that might be where the elevated liver enzymes come from, the actual blood test. I'm not sure how they detected that, if it was urine or blood or even both. But I liked it. obviously the reason for doing was very, very reactive. And I wish it was proactive because some people could have caught certain things in time. But when I look back at it, I was like, I was really happy that at least they were trying to figure out how to balance. Yeah, you still got to go if you're hurt, but man, if you got this internal thing, we really need to do that. And I don't know if this is the time also when they were flying people to Pittsburgh before they even started working for the company and gave them a whole day's worth of testing. Is that around this time too?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you were about to get signed or you got signed, they usually at that time would fly you to Pittsburgh to a facility where you would do like a whole day, maybe 2 days worth of testing to make sure you were okay. And I think even during that time, there was something. This is during the mystery of the Nigel McGuinness stuff too. Like there was a medical issue. He ended up not being with the company. Then he went to
Yeah,
TNA.
he was honest. That was the problem.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But that might have been a Pittsburgh thing where he flew to Pittsburgh to get everything done, and they asked him about his medical history.
So for the Great American Bash, Great Khali would not be part of the very first ever Punjabi prison match because of his liver enzymes. So Big Show replaced him instead. I watched that match live. Man, that was apart from the fact that it was just a bad match, you couldn't see anything because it was like those like thick bamboo, that lattice kind of thing was really camera unfriendly. It was just such a television unfriendly
Yeah, but let's bring
arrangement.
it back for Jinder versus Randy Orton, what Khali returned. Let's do it again.
There was also Matt Hardy replacing Super Crazy because of liver enzymes as well. Then Matt Hardy was suspended for 30 days along with Kid Cash straight after the show. And who else was there? Bobby Lashley, of course. Maybe that was why people were equating liver enzymes with something else. But he was taken off the show as well. And also with SmackDown, JBL was injured, Mark Henry was injured, Chris Benoit was injured, or off, or given some extended time off. And then Kurt Angle was moved to ECW, and Randy Orton was also very briefly moved to ECW as well for like one match before he was shunted over to Raw because I'm sure he put a call into Triple H. Now, isn't it funny how no one on Raw got caught with this?
That is very strange now you're putting it that way and kind of putting all these names together. That's really weird.
So apparently one of the reasons that elevated liver enzymes, apart from steroids anyway, was felt that this could be a thing was because there may have been or worried about a hepatitis outbreak. Do you have any memory of this?
No, I don't. I mean, if it might have been an internal thing with the office, but the boys wouldn't have had any. If this was a thing, the boys ought to have been talking about it. Would have been staying away from each other outside of the wrestling. No, I never heard about that. I mean, we've had medical things go through, flus and stuff like that. And then everybody over in India that one time got sick, very sick, lost weight. And of course, Regal couldn't wrestle for years and years and years after that. So the boys would know if it was like, oh man, there's hepatitis or this is happening, telephone, tell a wrestler, right? Everybody would know. But this feels like strictly internally kind of at the top in the middle.
Moving on, so another person who ended up suspended around this time was Tatanka, of all people. Now, he's one of those people that I always completely forget he had a 2-year run in the mid-2000s. He just turned up one day. Oh, Tatanka's back, of all people. But there you go. He actually fought the suspension and returned in less than a week. And I guess what I'm asking, because you toured, obviously, with SmackDown as part of the ECW brand for a couple of years and always in catering, as you would say. How much did you get to speak to or even get to know Tatanka over the years? Because I'd like to know more about the guy.
Well, I would too. I spoke to him very briefly, maybe 2 or 3 times. One time was extended because we were supposed to have a match on Velocity that got canceled, and we had it talked out and everything. I was pretty excited. I remember watching Tatanka when they had that undefeated streak and he won in the WrestleMania 9 in Vegas against Shawn. So I technically, and I didn't say it to him, I grew up watching him. So I was watching Tatanka. So it would have been like a little bit of a bucket list moment to wrestle somebody that I watched so much on TV as a young man, finally getting into the business. But it didn't happen. It got canceled. He was fine to talk to and everything. I was a little nervous because he goes, when we're out there, I'm just going to keep coming at you. I'm like, I'm gonna key. He knocked me down. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, man. And I go, I might have a little bit of a cardio engine, but not like. And I was really, and he's a big dude, man. He's not tall, but he's the thick, old school type wrestling body. And every bit, it's like moving. It's like kind of like working Valentine in a way. It's like he's just a big rock that you have to move back and forth. He's cooperative, but you get what I'm saying. It's just like you don't realize how like big and thick some of these guys are, and it's like, okay, well, that's kind of limiting for somebody, unless you're in the ring with like Spike. You said on the watch along, like, isn't it great when you can kind of be Andre the Giant and be a power wrestler against somebody? It wasn't the case with Tatanka at all, but it would have been nice to work him. And he showed up, he kind of showed up out of nowhere, and then he was kind of gone out of nowhere even after 2 years. It was just weird. Do you know why they hired him and why they ended up letting him go?
I don't. And actually, I want to bring up more people because around this time, they brought back Road Warrior Animal. They brought back, I don't think he ever made it to TV, Henry Godwin. He was on the cards for a bit.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, he did quite a few dark matches for. I think they brought back D'Lo very briefly.
No, I remember I worked D'Lo when he came back. When he came, he came back. Did he come back when I was there? Because he definitely came back where he was featured after, because he was working Santino on a couple matches too, right?
Oh, he was on TV. I thought he was only on dark matches.
No, when he returned one time, he was working Santino on TV, I believe.
I'm looking at this right now.
Come on, CT, not today. Not today, CT.
Yeah, so he was doing dark matches on Raw. He was wrestling Manu. So there's another name for the past. But yeah, he was there for the latter half of 2008 on the Raw brand. Yeah, for about 5-6 months. He
got brought back maybe just as I was getting released, because I wasn't going to shows either. I got released August 15th. He may have had stuff more in his way, more of a schedule after I got released. But I could have swore I saw him wrestle Santino a couple times.
You did. 1 minute 30. 1 minute 30, he defeated Santino, and then apparently he was just feuding with Santino several times, and his last match was a loss to Mike Knox in 50 seconds. Of all his television matches, all 5 of them, I'm going to try and add it up. 3 minutes, 3 minutes. In 5 matches, he managed to rack up just over 5 minutes of ring time.
Good Lord, he didn't get to watch the Marine trailer either.
Dude, I know.
And he got an entrance. He got an entrance in all those matches.
With that being said, the Nasty Boys turned up once as well for a dark match. I don't know if you watched that, but that was meant to be. I think I asked Hornswoggle that once, and he said it was a disaster.
No, this is something that I would remember with guys showing up, and I remember was this during the time where Bob Orton was on TV with Randy, and he had the hepatitis thing going on.
He did, because
he bled, and Taker got mad about that.
Well, wouldn't you get mad?
Yeah, but I'm saying was that during that time between like 06, 08 type deal?
Oh, now you're asking me. Hang on. So I've got to now type this up. But I remember he was there for a brief bit. I really liked him on TV as well. He was kind of like Chavo Classic. He had like something to give, and
dude, and he could still sell way better than most of the roster when he got hit, right?
Yeah. 2005 to 2006. Yeah, so it was around this time. They were bringing back some random names at this point. I mean, Chavo Classic is one, I guess.
But isn't that the beauty about wrestling and what it should be? What you just said. Isn't it far too predictable and too many people and they're staying and it's not fluid enough? Back then, we didn't know what we had with who's going to show. What's Tatanka doing in the Titantron zone?
Do you remember, and please tell me you remember this, Randy Orton versus Kamala?
Yes, during the Legend Killer part, right? Yes, yeah. I do.
That's got to be the most astonishing, like dream match that no one ever asked for, but man, you were happy it happened.
What's funny about that is, with just my observation, he's a 3rd generation superstar. His dad literally is working all the people he's ending up career killing or legend killing. It's got to be so surreal for Randy, even if he's figured in and he's a different person and he's kind of kind of a menace in a way, it's got to still, when you look at Kamala, you look at all the people, the Sergeant Slaughters and everybody else that his dad got to work and they have angles with too. Now I am getting to share a ring with these guys and they're putting me over. That's pretty surreal.
Well, he was probably like, oh, hey, because he's probably seen him for like years in like his kitchen or something when Bob Orton brought wrestlers home.
Yeah, but
Oh, hey,
I wonder
Harley.
if there was a moment of self-awareness where you're just like, wow, this is like literally coming full circle. You know what I mean? From a kid, and now these guys are putting me over.
Here's a couple of other names from the past that just randomly turn up. Jake Roberts. He did for a very short, like maybe a couple of different times. I remember he did a segment on the highlight reel with Jericho. So I don't know if that was the same time, but he did wrestle Randy. Sergeant Slaughter. Here's another one. Duggan. And I think maybe Greg Valentine was on one once, if I remember rightly, but I know Jim Duggan was, and he got a contract out of it for a couple of years. You wrestled Duggan, did you not?
I did on an indie show in Jersey, and that's what I was saying last week. I was like, you don't realize, and I'll repeat it. You just don't realize what mountains of men these people are to maneuver them. I was going to say this too. He wrestled somebody else. Oh, you know who escaped him? Because he's such a worker through and through. And I might be right. Tell me if I'm wrong. Honky Tonk Man would have been somebody to really bring in and do the Legend Killer gimmick, but did he turn that down? Because I would think that would be something that would really get Randy over, but Honky Tonk would be very protective of, the way he looks, because he was working back in 06, 05, 06, and around that time. He's probably working more on the indies than he ever did in WWE. He had a full schedule.
Do you remember?
Did the Taboo Tuesday thing where they voted and it ended up being, I remember that. It ended up being they actually voted for him against Santino, the Honky Tonk Man, when he came out on Cyber Tuesday or Taboo Tuesday. Honky Tonk won that. It was Goldust, Piper, and Honky Tonk wanted. And remember, they hit the music and they popped huge for him.
Wasn't that the time where they were absolutely sure Roddy Piper was going to win?
They was a shoot. It was a vote for, they assumed Piper, but after that, it wasn't a shoot anymore.
What was I going to say? I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Honky Tonk was working till like 2020.
But he was probably working 4 or 5 times a week on the indies during that time.
Yeah. He's kind of ageless. I remember standing next to him, or not too close to him, but I remember looking up to him. I was like, damn, he's a big dude.
Not small.
I mean, what was he, like a legit 6'3"?
I think he was 6'2", 6'3", and a legitimate maybe 230, 230, 240.
I'm trying to think of other people, but I just like, in the mid-2000s, WWE, you just never quite knew what legend would turn up next in the weirdest spots sometimes. So, I mean, still the weirdest one for me is Henry Godwin. And just like, I'm going to make a comeback, 10 years after the fact or so. But he never made it back to TV.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that it was, because it was still technically a down time, I figured that would be like one of the most kind of exciting, especially for a lapsed wrestling fan that used to watch them when these guys were featured, to see, oh, did you see this person? Did you see this person? And it's kind of like you get the pop, but you also you move business forward with the new generation using these veterans.
Sorry, I just had to look at this as well. Greg Valentine did indeed wrestle in 2005 on Heat against, so it's on the Raw brand. Have a guess who beat him. You probably wouldn't guess it, but I just thought it was a good game.
Maven?
Rob Conway.
Oh, wow. There's a name.
Yeah, there's a name. I think he must have been doing the "Just Look at Me," that entrance bit, which I really liked.
Con Man, I think he called himself or something like that.
Yeah, the Con Man. Well, what else are you going to call him with that name? The Wayman? Well,
Vince always had characters that were based on his personality, like IRS and $1 Million Man. So maybe the Con Man.
The Scumbag.
The NDA Man.
He's given that some. I'm sure he's given that gimmick to a lot of people anyway. What time is it now? So we've 35 minutes. I actually think we can do this news story as well, and then we'll do half of the show, and then we'll move on to some more up-to-date news as well. So Randy Orton, the big on-screen story, and I don't know how much you know about this backstage because there might have been rumors going around. I don't know that he was wrestling Hulk Hogan, and the story going into SummerSlam in 2006 And I think this was Hulk Hogan's last WWE match, wasn't it? Because the year before it was Shawn Michaels, which we should watch as a Patreon exclusive. But Randy Orton and Brooke Hogan were going to get it together. That was going to be the story going into it. And Hulk Hogan wasn't happy about it. And of course, Hogan defeats Randy Orton at SummerSlam 2006, which I can understand Shawn Michaels to an extent because he was kind of at the tail end of his career. But Randy Orton, like, come on, he should have won, surely. What do you think?
Didn't work for him, brother. Did not work for him. My favorite part of this, I don't know if you have it in the notes, is the RKO on the trunk of the limo. It's like, Randy, what happened? What happened, Brooke Hogan, as a singer, not an actor. Well, some people might not even say a singer, but yeah, it didn't work for him. This just proves right there that Hogan still had some kind of political power with this, because everything in the world is based on what the Legend Killer and all this other stuff that Randy was doing, youngest world champion at the time. For Hunter to give him that, and then Hogan is going, no, I'm going to beat him, brother. Or maybe Hogan still has a little bit, he had a little bit of that SummerSlam stink on him from the Shawn Michaels match. He's like, I got to look strong at SummerSlam after that. Yes, you're right. That watch along with Shawn, man, this is like, I know I'm going off on it, but it lends in with Hogan, because Hogan might have said to Shawn, hey, brother, when you get out there, just make sure you bump and sell. Oh, yeah, okay. I think that's all it took right there.
I've got a theory about why he wanted to win. It's because Hogan Knows Best was still airing. And my theory is that he wanted to win. Probably they were going to do something backstage, for the reality show, and then it would have looked, just for his own ego and also, for appearances, he wanted to win for the reality show. That's my theory.
Yeah. And then when he gets canceled, he goes, I got to stay strong because my show just got canceled. Haha. Brother.
Dude, I want to do like Legends last matches and stuff like that. But I think Hogan did quite well for his last match because it was like a tag match. I think it went pretty well. But there were so many depressing ones. And I'm surprised Hogan's isn't one of them. But yeah, all right, we've got to move on from Hogan. Maybe that might be a watch along as well in the future. But Randy Orton had been suspended earlier in the year yet again. And this time it was because he'd been caught smoking weed, and apparently Bruce Pritchard dobbed him in to the office, actually inside the Kemper Arena. And this was right after the first WWE instituted drug test. Like, he was doing it as like an FU, or like, I can get away with anything kind of thing. And WWE tried to make an example of him with a 60-day suspension. And then he ended up going to anger management the same year as well. I mean, you've always said when you wrestled Randy in 2002, it was like, great dude. Great worker as well.
Yeah, but that's before all the other stuff and everything. You get exposed to these types of things. Like I said, the business can bring out the best in you or the worst in you. And if you get entitled or you expect certain things, and we've all been there who've been pushed. I'm not outside of that. The ECW push and other things, you don't have the perspective or sometimes the humility or or any of these other things or maturity to do that. You would assume that Randy would, being a third generation superstar, grandfather and father, kind of smartened him up, where he observed the highs and the lows of his dad and his granddad. But at the same time, he's figured in, he's Hunter's boy. Vince probably loves him. All this stuff can do no wrong. It sets up to, I can do whatever I want. Speculation on my part, because like I said, anytime I was around Randy, he wasn't the menace that people like, even Cody and him have talked about it on Cody's podcast. People are pretty open, and he's pretty open about the way he used to be. But maybe it's just me, go in, talk the match, do the match, and then get away from all these people. Hey, I wasn't exposed to the hotel bars or the bars in general or any of the other stuff. And I still stand by Randy on the one thing with the gym. We talked about it on a previous episode. Somebody just wouldn't leave him alone at the gym, and then kind of browbeat him, and he's going to become the Randy Orton that right here with the anger management. Most people would get angry in that situation.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard about hotel rooms being trashed, $40,000. Cody, I think, even said to Randy, he ripped the urinal off the wall. These are things other people have said. I've never witnessed that. And if I see somebody ripping a urinal out of the wall, I'm not sticking around. I'm going to the other bathroom somewhere because
Hmm.
if they could rip a urinal off the wall, what the hell are they going to do to me?
Well, fairness, there's plenty of other urinals.
Now,
There's not just
today I
one.
would just be like, well, that one's taken, and then just go over here.
Uh, did you hear stories at the time? Because there's a couple of famous ones, and I know I'm dragging up old stuff, and it's the Randy Orton of old, and apparently the Randy Orton of new is like ultra serious, and like completely swung the pendulum. But like there was the whole, what was she called, Rochelle Lowen, and I guess because she was, I don't know why, maybe because she was one of the WWE Diva Search types or whatever offense she committed, and apparently she once dated Bill Maher as well. But at this point, who hasn't? He squirted tanning lotion and baby oil into her bag and basically ran her out of the locker room.
Never heard about that. But as far as bags go, a lot worse has been done, and that's not an excuse. Once again, we talk about normal people in a way. Nobody's truly really normal, but people, civilians outside wrestling come into it. It's a culture shock right there. And most times people will say instantly, I'm done. There's people who have quit on day one, rightfully so in a way, like wrestlers are crazy. The business is crazy. It's an insane asylum at times. So whether it's been, Ultra HD or 4K or 8K cameras or production or Be a Star campaign, it still has the seedy, carny, like underworld as a part of it. And that's not saying Randy's like part of some of the deeper stuff, but those are the things that when you get there, it's like literally trying to drive you away. Those are elements are always going to be there.
Yeah, I think I can't remember any of the specifics, but I think like one of the other girls who was like in JBL's cabinet, not
Amy
not the
Weber?
one with the Amy
No,
Weber. That's it.
Joy Giovanna,
Was it Joy
Giovanni.
Giovanni? It might have been
Yeah.
her, yeah. And I think they had their own complaints. Not specifically about Randy, but to stick with Randy, I won't tell the full story, but he was accused of doing something and then trying to shake new people's hands. And then when they obviously wouldn't shake his hand after what he just touched in front of them, he'd then throw a fit and say, "Why don't you want to shake my hand? What's your problem?" kind of thing. I was like,
Oh, you're kind of set up to fail at that point, aren't you?
yeah. Why would anyone want to be a WWE writer?
Why would they? I mean,
Yeah, but it sounds awful.
maybe based on the amazing experience by young writer in that writer's room and Unreal, I don't know why anybody wouldn't be lined up for that particular job. I mean, that's what I mean. A lot of times this turnover happens, and this is a bigger thing that we can talk about future episode, Take a Drink. But man, you're taking a drink right now off camera. But what happens is we drive away people that can really help the business just for whatever cliquish nature. And I'm not talking about Randy, I'm talking about in general. Anybody that tries to make the product or the business better in a way, everybody goes into spot protecting mode and creating these situations that you'll be like, nah, you can have it. Yep, we'll take it. That's good. That's why some people are there 34 years right
Mhm.
now.
So let's move on to the show itself then. August the 1st, 2006, sellouts of 2,460. Apparently only sold out 2 hours ahead of time. WWE were worried that they were not going to sell enough tickets. I mean, that just goes to show you how badly they killed ECW in 2 months at that point. And I thought, well, finally, we're going to get away from the WWE ECW thing. We're going to have some old-fashioned ECW action because they brought some people back and they had quite a lot of the original names. You included as well. You were on the undercard. Just Incredible. Nunio, I think, was there with Tony Marmaluke. Some other people, like, actually, I've just written it all here. Yeah, Balls Mahoney, etc. So, Roadkill, in fact, who you would wrestle and defeat, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, the venue is, once again, the Hammerstein Ballroom. What do you make of that venue? And we're going to just talk about ECW venues here, the mid-sized arenas. Where does that rank on the best ECW venues to work? And that goes not just the venue itself, but the crowds that they attract.
Well, I think it's a 1A, 1B between the ECW arena the way it was and the Hammerstein. That was quite the upgrade for the version of ECW that people want to remember back before 2000. It was just, man, I can't put it into words because I didn't have any experience in that Hammerstein ballroom. They didn't go there when I was in ECW on the first time with Raven and then the BWO. But when I was there for One Night Stand, you can just feel the history there. It's kind of like being in the Garden, but it has more of a, how should I say it? It has a mix between an arena, a theater, and somewhat of just a museum type thing, the way it's set up with the balconies. And it reminds me of the Muppets too. I look up there and always say it should be the two old guys just burying the show, which they would
Statler
bury
and
the
Waldorf,
show.
yeah.
Yeah. I can't say heart, soul, and spirit. That building has such a feel to it. Backstage, the locker rooms are like kind of akin to what the TNA ones were in Nashville on the weekly paper. Just like they're not much to look at backstage, but that also might be why it feels like a theater, because you have your black walls, the wood walls that are painted black, these very narrow, dark hallways and everything. It's got very much, and then you go out onto the stage area and the bright light. It's such a contrast. So it's definitely a bucket list moment for anybody that's ever wrestled or wanted to wrestle, whether you're working ECW, WWE, or even the indies. And guess what? Whoever owns the Hammerstein Ballroom knows that and charges rent accordingly. But it was
expensive.
From what I know, it's extremely, pun intended, expensive for Paul when he ran it. From what I hear, when I was talking to Dreamer about that and everything in passing, it was just like way too expensive. Joey Styles, I think, told me it was a very expensive venue to rent, because it's like, now it's like the ECW arena too. Maybe now, or especially after ECW went out of business, any wrestling promotion wanted to run that building, I think they charged the premium, because you're running the ECW arena and people know that. So Hammerstein is right up there. If you hear Hammerstein Ballroom, do you think about a play, a theater thing, or any kind of other event? You think about pro wrestling. You more specifically, if you ever were a wrestling fan, ECW right off the bat. Am I wrong?
No, pretty much, I think. Do you prefer...
But it's an experience, if I could just finish with this. It's
yes,
an
please,
experience. It's an experience that if you're a current wrestler and you have the opportunity to wrestle there, hopefully you'll get paid as much as you can. I would definitely take it. You will definitely say, I wrestled in the same building, maybe as the people I grew up watching. I wrestled in the same building that this moment happened, that, Dreamer and C.W. Anderson had an amazing I Quit match with the barbed wire cripple crossface. There was a lot of moments there. Nunio trying to break everybody's arm. There's tons of things that happen in this building, good, bad, and indifferent.
Do you
the
prefer...
JBL Meanie too? That's a moment.
Do you prefer these smaller, let's say the 2,000 seater arenas? Do you prefer like a regular seating arrangement, like it's like the flat bit and then it comes up like that a bit, or do you like the theater style thing with the Hammerstein where it's like fans and then just a wall of fans going up, basically, almost like coming down on top of you? Which
it
do you
felt like
prefer?
The balconies were right over the ring sometimes in a way, even though they weren't. It was an optical illusion, but it felt like, because they stuck out, that you had a great viewing area. And when you look up and you're just surrounded by all this, I guess, historical architecture and stuff, and a wrestling show should not work in that building, but it absolutely does. What do I prefer? I mean, from a financial standpoint, what's going to pay the most amount of money? More people, bigger building, stuff like that. But from a, fulfillment standpoint, obviously that building right here, we're talking about what, 2,460 people could sound like 15, 20,000 if they're making noise, which, going back to the show, they may not have made a whole lot of noise. Look at it. All the dark matches are funny. There's almost more dark matches than matches on TV.
Did you ever work the Manhattan Center, where they used to do the original Raws, by the way, if anyone didn't know?
Yeah, the ECW Invasion, Manhattan
Of course
Center.
you did. I'm sorry, yeah.
Yes.
How did that compare?
96, I worked Nunio. He tried to hurt me again.
It was 97, but I'll let you off on that.
Now, the ring was successful in bruising my tailbone on the side slam. That's when they were using the Andre Hogan ring. 96. But that was an experience once again. Oh, dude, I love the fact that when we were leaving the arena, Vince was standing there. It was like being in line to meet the Pope and kiss his ring. Everybody went up and shook Vince's hand on the way. He was standing there like basically in the hallway like an NFL coach after the game, but shaking hands with everybody on the way out. And he called me
So
Stevie Ray again. And I'm like, please get my name right on the contract.
that is going to be a future episode, Take a
What,
drink.
ECW Invasion?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's going to be a full episode dedicated to that. Don't you worry. Did WWE ever run the ECW arena, the 2300?
Not during my time there, but I think they did. Well, NXT has absolutely run it
Well,
multiple
NXT,
times.
but in the
Has the
WWE,
WWE
ECW.
show ever run it? I don't remember. Definitely not when I was there, but I don't remember after that. And obviously, maybe their thing of trying to do it, they didn't even put NXT there until after it got fully renovated into an actual arena.
Okay, here's the big question.
I did work Punk. I worked my first match, and there's a really weird stop motion-y looking video on YouTube. Punk's first official match, not on TV, but the first official match is being signed, was at the ECW arena versus me. And we had a good 15-minute match or something like that. And that was at the arena, but that was labeled under an ECW house show.
So, all right, so it was an ECW house show then? Because that's what I was going to ask, if they ever ran a house show there.
It was one of the first during the WWE ECW era. We did that. We did Racine, Wisconsin. I think I worked either Brad Armstrong or Al Snow. That's when I talked about Brad Armstrong when he locked up. And I was like, man, he's so light. But that was on an ECW house show.
Right. Hopefully, I've given you enough time to come up with some answers now. So we've got 1A, 1B. So we're presuming the ECW Arena and Hammerstein as the two best ECW venues that they ran. Could you come up with a top 5 venues that ECW ran that you really loved, as far as, it would draw fans, for starters. The fans would be great. You like the acoustics. You like the look of the building. It looked great from the inside and out. A top 5, if you could come up with purely ECW style venues.
Outside of those two that are obviously in their own category, right?
They'll be number one. They'll be number one. So you can come up with a few more, yeah.
All right, number 2 would probably be the War Memorial in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, whenever we got out of the Northeast. And there was a lot of great TV when we did that. So Fort Lauderdale, Florida, War Memorial, that was awesome. Then I would have to say where the mass transit incident happened, but a lot of great moments happened. The Greyhound track in Revere, Massachusetts was really great to work. The Elks Lodge in Queens, New York was awesome too in Queens. Elks Lodge, Lost Battalion Hall. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite matches, Raven and myself versus Shane and Dreamer, which I did what went wrong. We can talk about it. I used to power bomb or Stevie Bomb Dreamer all the time. Our timing was off on this one, and he came straight down. Not straight down like this, but he hit and then his legs, and it was scary, and I still feel terrible about that. But the Lost Battalion Hall, Elks Lodge, Revere, Mass, War Memorial, that's 4. The 5th, I would say, you just got to be more than 5. Can I do more than 5?
Yeah, of course you can. Why not?
Okay. Lulu Temple, where we had a riot one time. That was out in Pennsylvania. Lulu Temple was actually a temple, but they had a little kind of high school gymnasium type thing there. And then we wrestled once in this building when I was there, and it's on ECW Unreleased Volume 3, where Sandman broke my nose on the lockup, Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Great fans in all these buildings. And you can see Massachusetts is awesome. Obviously, Jersey, the Northeast, but Florida had really, really old, and it had an old Florida wrestling feel to it on TV. And they have it up on YouTube, I believe. But yeah, those were some of my favorites to work. And we went back to the same buildings a lot. So those things have their own moments within shows, but overall, those buildings were great.
What was the most unique venue they ran? Would it have been the Lulu Temple?
Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe on top of the mountain. That's where Raven and I won the tag belts on June 30th, 1995. And guess what? That's where the New Jack Dances with Dudley fight happened in the locker room. And the locker room was part of stilts. It was off the mountain.
Oh.
It wasn't attached to the mountain. So these dudes are rolling around, and you have 20 wrestlers, 25 wrestlers, most of which weigh all over 200 pounds. And you could hear the creaking of the floor. And guess what happened to that locker room after we stopped running? It collapsed.
Hmm.
So that Jim Thorpe was on top of a mountain in the Poconos. Great building to run too. It'd be right up there. But yeah, it was the most unique. So you imagine him drive up and down with the ring truck. in it was June, but we ran the winter time too.
Just, I'll never get another chance to ask this probably, but have you ever been in an arena, whether it's Denver or wherever, where like it was so high in the clouds, the venue, that you just couldn't catch your breath?
Well, I couldn't catch my breath when D'Lo and I worked Denver one time and we didn't realize we were in Colorado, but it wasn't on top of anything. The only venue I could say was like, when are we gonna stop going up? Is Dominican Republic. And I'm sure
Hmm.
Dutch has told that about Puerto Rico, where the shows start whenever the shows start, you know? But I remember driving up and yeah, we started to see some clouds and I'm like, where are we going? What are we doing? I thought I was done. I thought they were kidnapping me or something.
Okay, then. So, as far as the show goes, it's the once again the 8th episode of ECW on Sci-Fi, and the dark matches, of which you definitely pointed out that there were more dark matches, or as many as there were actual matches on the show, because ECW on Sci-Fi was a 1-hour show. Balls Mahoney defeats Rene Dupree, who didn't have much luck on dark matches, because you defeat him as well at the December to Dismember pay-per-view later that year.
Yeah, you
There was
figured your career would be over after that.
How much longer did he stay in WWE after that?
Renee, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure if he was there maybe till the year I was gone or not so long after that. I got the picture of my match for Roadkill that we still text back and forth with today in 2026. So I found it. Besides the AI pictures of Dreamer running away with candy as Big Sal and I chase him.
He can't be he can't be running for long, surely.
Dreamer got candy. He'd probably be, it's kind of like it's kind of like the mother saving the child that's stuck under the car type of adrenaline.
The next match is Brian Kendrick and Paul London. They defeat the FBI, and that match was released on the WWE Vault not too long ago, in fact, because that was like one of the matches that was heralded as one of the greatest of the year, and no one ever got to see it, I think. The main event, if you can call it that, of the dark matches, Christopher W. Anderson, who is not C.W. Anderson anymore, defeating Shannon Moore. Why?
Why?
Why is he Christopher? Why is he Christopher?
I have no idea. We're still in the era of we're about to enter the Dolph Ziggler era. Let's put it that way, right?
Mm.
So Christopher W. Anderson really rolls off the tongue better than C.W. Anderson.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that his pen name?
Well, they could have also been like, well, we want to own the name. They could have had that kind of thought about it.
And the one I didn't mention was Stevie Richards defeating Roadkill. Any story? I know you've got Roadkill stories because you told me a story just beforehand about how he used to kill you with that very elbow drop, Stevie.
Yes, this elbow drop right here is the wrestlers love to, take friendly jabs or whatever back and forth or make continuous jokes to the point where everybody but said wrestlers get tired of the running joke, which is basically running on 20 years at this point, where once in a while I will text them this, especially if someone says, oh, that was really stiff. I go, how about this? To which Roadkill goes, you're a clown. You're a P word. Shut up. Shut up, stupid. Now it sounds like Dreamer imitating Roadkill. Did you know?
Is he elbow dropping you with his hip in that photo?
He did I'm going to bring it up again, or maybe Chris can B-roll it. But basically, this picture here, which, by the way, it's not bad. It's over before you know it. It's kind of like a roller coaster ride. But he does the elbow, then the elbow comes down, then he kind of rolls through like this. So it's kind of like a senton type thing where you go back and then you sit up, but it's with his elbow. And yeah, it's more of a lat drop on me. But the funny part is I wasn't supposed to roll out to the floor afterwards. I roll like you just see my body just like it almost floats. It's almost like that levitation thing, the David Copperfield trick on YouTube. But there was no masked magician to say, this is how it's done. Dude just dropped an elbow and I said, I'm out of here. But
What do
he
you
was
think of?
really great to work, man. It's so much fun, so easy. And really, they gave him that Brodowski gimmick for a short time in OVW, but
I'm looking at
they
a photo of him in trunks.
Brodowski, right? Or whatever it
Yes.
was.
Why? He had a character.
Bruce had an idea on the plane, on the corporate jet, that this guy, the Roadkill, rebranded or repackaged this, was going to feud with the Undertaker. That's my understanding from people within the company. And even to this day, I checked. I checked a couple weeks ago. I think we were talking about something, and I said, "Oh, did this really happen?" And they're like, "Yeah, they were gonna actually put him with the Undertaker under that gimmick that they came up with in OVW."
Yeah, but what was the gimmick? Because he's just no one wanted to see him in trunks, I'm sure. But so why would someone put him in trunks and say, "Out you get.
I think
You're
it
going
was
to be
just
the
a
Undertaker's
throwback
next
gimmick, a
opponent"?
throwback kind of obviously. I don't know if it was going to be like a Polish heritage gimmick or what it was going to be, but they put him in trunks. And Roadkill could work no matter what outfit he had on. He could still work for a guy that big. He could do so much. There's another layer to this. Danny Doring and Roadkill, one of the most underrated tag teams in ECW history. And if you haven't watched them, especially versus the FBI, I think they have the match where they won the tag belts. Really unbelievable match. Hammerstein Ballroom, as a matter of fact, I believe. They were a team and they were supposed to be a team in the new ECW, but Paul absolutely hated Doring. And the reason why I know that is because Paul absolutely hated me. Doring and I hang together. He was big. He was doing the same treatment to us. That's what we said. We'll walk up to him together because that way he can more efficiently bury us right to our face without having to be fragmented. So that's why I believe they were breaking Roadkill off from Danny. And then obviously Danny was depressed. You know what I mean? You get in that mode. And I don't even know what happened to Roadkill as far as going from that pitch to absolutely nothing. That's a mystery to me.
How? Well, I was going to ask actually to sort of wrap this up. How good was Roadkill as a big man? Because he was in WWE for years, and they just very rarely brought him to TV. He seemed to be in OVW purgatory for quite a while, along with, to be honest, quite a lot of other people. They just find themselves there and just be stuck there for years.
Yeah, he was like 95% of his time of doing anything was OVW, correct?
Yeah, pretty. I'm just looking at his stuff. He was in OVW. Um, but then he'd go on Heat the next year in a dark match, and he'd wrestle as Anthony Pulaski. And then he'd
Oh,
be on
that's
the
the
house
name. I
shows, and then
thought it was
back to OVW.
Brodowski. I thought it was Pulaski,
No, he was Tony Braddock at one point, Anthony Pulaski, but his real name's Michael DiPoli.
which was
But
a
yeah,
cool name. Cool
yeah,
Italian style name. How good was he? I would say, and people could say, well, you're biased. Of course I am, because I saw him work a ton. I saw him grow. I saw him and Doring grow as a tag team. I saw them pretty much make from nothing into something, which most people did in ECW. I'd say he was right up there. And if they were considering putting him with the Undertaker, even just for a split second, that proves right there how good someone saw him as a big man. And could he? He can make Undertaker look like $1,000,000. He made me look like $1,000,000. He bumped for me. He did a lot for me in that one match. And a big man can bump people around and move like a statue. But Roadkill is the exact opposite. He's a big man. And I think in a way that could have been why he didn't get pushed, because he was so good at bumping and selling and putting people over. He had the Brad Armstrong effect of big men.
will you ask him for me? Or if he sees this and he might message you and say, but can you ask him how much he knew about what the plan was going to be regarding him and The Undertaker?
Can
Even
we
if
put
it's
a
just
pin
like
in
a
that? I'm going to
preliminary.
text him right now.
Yeah, do it.
I'm going to text him right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, while you do that, then text him, because I'd love to know. And if we find out before the end of the show, we'll kind of add this in,
So basically,
at
how
least
much
for the
did
clip.
you know? How much did you know about this potential push or the potential thing with Undertaker or what they were going to do with you?
Yeah, like an outline of a story as well, if they ever got that far. I'd love to know that, because there's just some feuds that were started, or at least, they're attempting to go with, and just never got anywhere. And I love those stories. While you're texting Roadkill to get some more information on that, we're going to go to the first match of the broadcast portion of the show, and it is Mike Knox and Test defeating Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman. And in the run-up, in the sort of like pre-match vignette, the promo hyping up the match, Kelly, boy, did she take a whack on the head with that stick. Good on her for stepping up and doing it. I mean, what was she, 18 and a model? Can't imagine she, done anything physical like that in her life.
Yeah, she was definitely thrown into the deep end, even though ECW is considered to be the third brand, if that, it's still incredibly stressful. And she always came off as somebody that was at least trying. They put her in that dancing gimmick and the jealous boyfriend of Mike Knox. But yeah, now I didn't remember that till you mentioned it. I'm like, oh man, she did take a pretty good shot.
With the match itself, I was thinking, man, did they just have, the crowd up, to start with? Obviously, they beat the ECW originals. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to ask you why WWE wouldn't dip their hand in their pocket and buy the rights to enter Sandman, because Sandman is an entrance. If you take away his entrance, kind of what's left? Because that music they replaced him with, it was brutal.
Yeah, I was going to say too, Sandman actually did a shoot interview. Somebody on Cameo had asked me to react to this. So there was a perfect timing on this, that Metallica was offering to play the song in exchange for promotion of an album or a tour or something like that. I think it was supposed to be maybe SummerSlam. You'll have to watch it. We'll link it in the description if I can find it. But Sandman said that Vince just had no idea about anything. And I'm sure the money issue, but according to Sandman, according to Hack, that's what we call him, this was supposed to be something that Metallica wanted to do, and WWE did not capitalize on it. But you're right. You're talking about something that with music, and we see with AEW, how much did the fans react when the final countdown started for Bryan Danielson, or maybe more notably, the first dance in Chicago when Punk came out, the Cult of Personality. You're like, oh my God, the music followed him. Edge, who else? Cody from AEW to WWE. I get goosebumps thinking about the fact that that's a major part that follows a character and is every bit as important. And I'm talking about people that aren't attached to the entrance. You said it best. Sandman's character is the entrance. Whatever happens in the match, you got to experience Sandman 2 feet away from you, spitting beer all over you, and you loved it. And the music just made it. Yeah, it's very much a Rocky Horror Picture Show moment, right?
With Dutch told me this once, right? Because he brought Sandman into Puerto Rico like 2002, 2003. And he said whether it was, I don't know if it was Savio or Victor Quinones or whoever told him, he said, can you just tell Sandman just to get to the ring and have the match? And Dutch was like, that is the match.
Who said that again?
Whether it was Victor Quinones, whoever owned IWA Puerto Rico, or Savio or somebody else there, they said, just tell Sandman to not do the entrance, just get him in the ring. And Dutch actually said, no. Like, that is the match. That's the entertainment, is the match. The bell-to-bell stuff is, no one's going to remember anything that happens in that. It's the entrance itself that's like Jimmy Valiant. He's the modern-day Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah, the clapping and the dancing and everything like that. Yeah. The interaction, the dancing with the kids and the women on the outside. Dude, Junkyard Dog. Junkyard Dog could work, but what do people remember? After the match, bringing kids in the ring, grab them cakes, doing the little dance against the ropes. That's what I don't understand. That's where we talk about modern wrestling. It's actually existed throughout all the eras. Why do you equate the value of a segment based on the physicality and how many bumps somebody takes? Why?
It's the R-Truth principle, isn't it? Like, his value is in the vignettes, and he's worth his weight in gold there. But you always say, well, he didn't do anything in the ring, so therefore we're wasting money.
Well, we saw Unreal. What were they talking about? They were talking about it like it was a real competition with Chelsea Green, and like she can't beat a 4'11", 80-pound girl. They are attaching way too much physicality to a sports entertainment business. Everybody is answering my text. It's a group text between myself, Doring, remember Bull from NXT, and Big Sal. They are all answering they don't remember. When I said Roadkill, do you remember?
Hopefully, we'll get an answer by the end of the show. You never know. When I was looking at Sandman, I was like, damn, Sandman's moving well, and he looks well, and he's tanned, and he's pretty slim. He was looking like crap when ECW shut down. Like, really overweight at times. Like, his weight, like, fluctuates hugely. over the years, over his wrestling career as well. But I thought in 2006, you know what, he was kind of like WWE TV ready as he was kind of ever going to get, and he was doing some pretty good movement, I think.
Yeah, you have to think about it too. Everything Sandman had done in and out of the ring, and he still managed to age backwards during this time. He looked 20 years younger. When he was the Sandman, and he was one of the people temporarily when I first started wrestling school with Tri-State Wrestling Alliance, and he came out with the wetsuit and the surfboard. That Sandman. He got in the ring when we rolled around a little bit. He was taking backdrops, doing all this stuff and everything, but he looked older there than he did in the new ECW. And dude, when I saw that, I was like, I'm so happy for my friend that, like, not only is he getting a spot here in WWE, but he absolutely looks the part and he's still the Sandman. And guess what? They missed on him. They missed on him. I know you're shocked, everybody out there. The easiest thing to sell t-shirts, to create a beer, to do some crossover stuff with Austin, they just refused to do it. It was such an easy thing with him.
I mean, you've been watching Sandman do interviews. Why did he hate his WWE run so much? Because didn't he get out? Was he not fired? Did he leave?
That shoot interview and that clip I talked about was kind of, I believe he saw the writing on the wall, and I don't think he got released. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if his contract just ran out or if he just said I'm done or anything like that. He always had jobs outside of wrestling. He was in construction. He had always had something going on. For all I know, he was still doing it in the new ECW. We never talked about it. We only know that he was reading the Wall Street Journal as Sabu was watching like The Price is Right or something. And we were like, this is very weird.
He said he left because the company's sterile corporate structure and lack of camaraderie, I guess, comparatively speaking, but he just said it was soul-sucking. He just hated WWE and couldn't wait to leave.
Can you blame him? And he always paired it with what I just said. He always had work he did outside of wrestling. So for him, it wasn't like when I'm done here, I need to fill up my bookings. It was like I can go back to work and then do my bookings. He always treated the business that way.
When was Sandman, I guess, best to work with as far as an in-ring competitor? Because I'm sure you wrestled him, in the original ECW. You wouldn't have wrestled him in WCW because he wasn't there yet. And you worked with him in WWE as well. I mean, when was he kind of moving best, I guess?
He always moved like Sandman. So I worked him on that house show I talked about where he
was he always awkward then, is what I'm asking as well?
He's always had his own unique style. How's that? Let's put it that way. But honestly, that's great. Because guess who else had their unique style? You just mentioned Jimmy Valiant. You had people like Dick Murdoch, Trevor Murdoch. There's these guys that don't have the standard bodybuilding wrestler look, but they all have these different kind of movements. Let's talk about Regal and Finlay. Even though their styles are similar, their movements and the way they do things is completely different. And you might think those are awkward, or come on, just lock, like Victor Quiones will say, why they keep measuring each other? Just lock up, right? Like Finlay and Regal doing their thing like anybody would when you're in the ring with a super dangerous dude. Sandman was just Sandman. But I have to say this, outside of the lockup that broke my nose and just other little things with the cane, his wrestling was fine. It was a little sloppy, caught you here or there, but nothing to the point, like he's not in the hide and right category. And I hate to keep picking on John that way, but he's nothing to where when I say, okay, we're going to get in the ring with Sandman tonight. Do you have power of attorney set up? Do you have your last will? Do you have all this stuff? Do you have do not resuscitate? Do you have all this stuff set up? So no, it was never like that, but it was. I don't know what the beer count was in WWE, by the way. I know we had to even get around 16 to be good. WWE, I'm not so sure. Maybe that's why he was miserable, because he was sober.
Very quickly, do you remember the segment where he forgot to get out of the ring when Vince McMahon was whittling down who could be his son?
Yes, he was standing in the corner just staring at Vince, right?
Yeah, because he said someone blonde, and he heard that, and then he forgot, like he wasn't listening. I said it was nobody who was extreme, and like your Dreamers and everyone else got out of the ring, and Sandman was just there, go, hey, and it was like him, Kennedy, and like Hornswoggle or something.
If Vince was going to get him over, he was going to say, Sandman, you're drunk again. Get out of my. Would have popped. Poor Ken Anderson, Ken Kennedy. He was
I
supposed to be the
know.
son.
Let's go to the match itself. Anything really? I mean, it's kind of not much to add to the match itself. I think, as far as a review, I remember for One Night Stand 2 when they, or maybe it was One Night Stand 1 when they brought barbed wire for the first time, and then at 2 they had the barbed wire board, which I think was the first time they ever brought that to WWE, unless they brought it out on that WWE ECW special they did like a week or two beforehand, which I loved as a show, by the
That
way.
was Cena and Sabu, right?
Yeah, that was a great show. That I was so excited, for
Where
the
was
pay per view.
where was the Edge and McFoley match in WrestleMania 22? What year was that compared to? That
Same
was
year,
2006.
2006. Yeah.
But they used barbed wire in that match, didn't they?
No, I thought they did. No, because they've
They
used
did
barbed
fire
wire
for the-
before.
They did thumbtacks for sure. That Edge went into the thumbtacks. They did the spear through the flaming table onto the floor from the outside, from the inside. But I
Yeah,
don't know if they used a barbed wire board in that. I don't recall. They
I don't
definitely used
think
a lot.
so. I'm wondering if they did it for Randy Orton and Cactus Jack in 2004, but I seem to remember it was either one of the ECW shows in 2006.
Yeah, but Randy and,
Correct me
and
if I'm wrong.
Cactus, once again, Randy won for the RKO. See, I'm trying to test CTE today. Randy went for the RKO and Mick shoved him off and he took the back bump into the tax. I remember that.
Hmm. So, anything else to add about this match? Because what a way! I've got to say, what a way to get the ECW crowd into the show of the opening match by having the ECW homegrown talent lose. That'll really set the stage.
But also, before that, let's get most of the ECW guys out of the way on the dark matches and not put them on the TV show and present the product. I think when we looked at the run sheet, we already knew what you're talking about today. Now you're bringing back bad memories. But yeah, it's just like we're ECW originals that can't get on the ECW show. And the guys that were on the other two brands are now taking over the ECW brand in the Hammerstein Ballroom. And there's somebody there. We watched Unreal. There's nobody that same writer's room, same type of environment, when nobody's going to say, this is like literally the people are going to just crap all over this. Nobody said that.
In all seriousness, would you have preferred to be on the dark match, or would you have preferred to be in the Brooklyn Brawler match with Kurt Angle against Kurt, not Steve?
No, I prefer to be on the dark match wrestling one of the guys, and we can still joke about it today through text.
Okay, then. There's a backstage portion where Francine makes a cameo, and she would sign with WWE ECW. She'd be there for a short while. And then Sabu confronts Paul Heyman, and he talks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I spoke to Sabu quite a few times, obviously before he died, over the last few years. And I did ask him this, and he went, don't know why. Why were they doing it to him?
It's you take the one biggest part of Sabu's mystique, I believe. I mean, obviously you look at him and you're just asking questions. The curiosity, morbid or not, right? You're looking at the scars on his body, you're looking at the way he acts, you're looking at what the eyes, which look like the eyes of a killer, but he's quite a sweet, nice guy. So I've already ruined it. Sorry. Rest in peace, Sabu. It's just, if you haven't seen our tribute episode to Sabu, I think it was 62, if I'm not mistaken, or 61, somewhere in the 60s, I believe. Please go see that. But you took away the one thing, and it can't be by accident that they did that they made him talk. He's not a comfortable talker as it is, and I think he would convey that as well during interviews. But this is one of those things where I can't wait to see Sabu. I can't wait to experience Sabu in the ring. Nobody says, and no offense, and he knows this too, nobody's saying, I can't wait to hear what Sabu has to say about this. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can't wait till Sabu kicks their butt, puts them through a table, wraps them in barbed wire. I can't wait for Sabu to debate somebody. No, nobody says that.
Then we get to CM Punk making his debut. Now, you would obviously wrestle CM Punk. Actually, even before this match, you would wrestle him on the house shows, kind of.
Just one. Just the ECW Arena one.
Would you say you were trying to get him ready for this television debut? Get him used to the WWE style? Was that what this was trying to accomplish essentially in the run up to
No,
episode 8.
I think no, I think what we did before he even signed with the company when he worked the heat against Matt Val, and he worked, I think, one against a tag match with Maven and someone else, I believe, because Maven watched it. We were getting him ready. Dreamer and myself were just kind of smartening him up to a few different things. Obviously, get your body in shape, look better, get a tan, all that stuff Vince loves. But also, get your cardio up, the ring's bigger, all that. Just little, nothing like we're standing there trying to coach him physically or anything. But no, he was already. Think about this. How many vignettes did Punk do about, straight edge, drug free, all this stuff, and how he wants to compete and on this debut? In other words, this was probably, they were all substandard. They weren't really cinematic, but Punk's vignettes really stood out, even though they were backstage, and then he finally debuted against what, PJ, I believe? Just Incredible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The entire brand, by the way, up to this point, we all believed right then and there, not even in retrospect, that this was just a vehicle mostly to get CM Punk over.
Yeah, kind of. Oh, by the way, the Sabu show was 46. That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
Our tribute to him. With that being said, we'll get to the match itself. I actually remember watching this. I remember the feeling I got watching this match and kind of exhaling after it was done, because whew, he had a good outing. Because heard his name so much in the indies. I used to watch a lot of indies and even TNA when he was on, and Ring of Honor here and there as well. And I was kind of really pleased that he had a good outing, especially when Just Incredible looked terrible. Physically, he was so thin, emaciated thin. And obviously he would, be fired soon afterwards because he was going through his own addiction issues, which I guess he continues to battle to this day. But I just kind of remember watching that match and thinking, phew, he got away with it. He looked good.
Yeah, he definitely had a lot of eyes on him from what I know or remember. And I think even early on right here, Hunter and him, mostly Hunter was probably already poo-pooing him in a way, or ECW in general. You can just say the whole thing's a complete waste of time, but you saw how that relationship kind of went negative for years and years and years between Hunter and Punk. But yeah, I was happy for him to see that he had a really good debut. They set it up for him. Now, if there was one thing during this show, we looked at everything that was so out of place. CM Punk embodied what the ECW fan base in that Hammerstein ballroom, like you said, they probably did the same exhale, oh, we finally got somebody that we can discover and grow with emotionally and watch the journey. And then we got to watch Big Show and Batista in the main event.
It's funny you mention it that way, because they tried to do the same thing with Mike Knox, and they tried to kind of reintroduce Test and Kevin Thorne, a couple of other people that were from OVW, or trying to rehab their image, I guess. Those were
my three main opponents during most of ECW right there.
Yeah, well, we've got to do more on the ECW WWE stuff. A future episode, everybody, I promise you. But yeah, I think CM Punk in the early days, he was the only guy who even remotely resonated with the fans in a really meaningful way, because I know they were trying to smash Test over as much as he was smashing people's faces at that time, because he was told to work very snug, I believe.
Yeah, strong style, yeah.
He was doing strong
and they
style.
can take it. They're ECW guys. I think that's what also was said. I want to say this too. You know what stands out? You talk about the Sandman's music and how stripping him from that and giving him whatever with the guitar riff took a lot of layers off his character. People you probably do realize this if you're watching or listening out there, how important music is for an identity. And also it's a little bit of an Easter egg to clue people in on if the company is going to invest in you. You know why? Punk came out to a licensed song.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't called a personality, but think about it. An actual unique licensed song with lyrics and all that stuff and everything that I identify with CM Punk, and wasn't just your CFO or whatever generic band creating the same bass riffs off of everything. Do you agree with that? That hearing the music makes them stand out instantly.
Wouldn't it be funny if it's oh, what do we have in the library? Let's give him the Beverly Brothers music. If you remember that song.
Yeah, or Doink the Clown.
Yeah. In fairness, that is not licensed music. Right. Do you know what that song was originally composed for? It was meant to be a song to go into battle.
That'll really get you hyped up.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
What are you
obviously,
going to juggle in front of the enemy?
no, you drove in a little car and about 12 soldiers would come out of it, and then confetti would come out of the exhaust and the doors
It's
would
like the
fall
worst. It's like the worst Trojan horse ever.
Yeah, I can't remember what the song name is, but it was originally composed as like a war song. Can you believe?
Oh my God. The tangent, I'll go on to like a 30-second tangent. What about the twist WWF did back in the day? The format.
Dude, I love that.
Oh man.
Loved
You
it.
see what I mean though? That's what they did. Victor Keon, what are you doing? No Sandman music. Come on, man.
It's why you have a booker and don't let the owner do everything.
Hmm.
Hint, hint. Okay. As far as okay, when we'll get to the actual match and some of the things he did in it. In fairness, I really love that. I don't think he does it anymore. It's like that punch, punch, back fist, then kick to the head. We'll get to the match thing. I thought that's a great little full strike combo.
Punch, spinning fist here, kick there, in unique left-handed Uranagi into the Anaconda Vice.
One of those little things I don't think I remember the last time he's done that.
No, I think Io Sky actually took it from him. Remember Io
probably
Sky's
does.
doing it? Yeah. Asuka too. Asuka might have saw that kind of stuff. Or he watched what they watched and they all saw it.
Any other things from the match you wanted to mention? Because Just Incredible like moved all right and stuff like that, but once again, it's like that was shocking to see him back on TV that unwell.
That part wasn't a big deal to the boys backstage. In other words for this, usually the boys backstage in a normal wrestling sense would be like, they're going to push this guy and I got to sit back here and I had a dark match and blah, blah, blah. The old wrestler mentality, like the cigarette, the Piper, stuff in the bagpipes kind of attitude, like Freddie Blassie with Piper. No, we were all generally happy actually for both guys. Even though PJ wasn't as muscular, PJ puts Punk over and we're like, now PJ, they can give him the ball and he might have steady, or, he might move up like I did in a way of working different people. And of course, Dreamer and I were especially happy for Punk because he was our friend. He was somebody we knew from the Indies and ROH. And to see finally after kind of Paul fighting for him too, now he broke that barrier and it looks like he's going to have momentum going forward. The ECW locker room, by the way, was always, even if they didn't like each other, they were pulling for each other because they knew it was a cog within the machine of the company. And we were all genuinely happy about the match and happy for both guys.
How much was Punk under the gun before he even got there? Because Bruce Pritchard said once, or maybe CM Punk actually said, maybe it was on his DVD, and he said Pritchard was actually one of the only people to take time out to try and figure him out. Like, he sat him down, actually recorded an interview with him, and just said, I want to know about the tattoos. What does drug-free mean? What does straight edge mean? What's your favourite music? What's your favourite colour? Do you like windy walks? That could just anything to try and figure him out because no one in the office could relate to him. And at least somebody took the time to realise, well, the fans are reacting to Punk. He's got something. How do we kind of, a bunch of middle-aged, guys in the office, how do we relate to him and how do we sort of package this for a wider audience kind of thing? So I guess as many naysayers as there were in WWE with Punk, there are at least a few people trying to work out something to do with him.
There was only one. You could say it was Bruce. Bruce didn't take the initiative. This is my educated guess.
He's best friends.
He's best friends with Paul Heyman. So this is a thing to help Paul because Paul was the biggest, I'll use a word he uses, but he was a real life advocate in OVW. Punk would have been in the Roadkill spot and stuck in OVW forever if it wasn't for Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman got him out of OVW, but the relationship you see on TV, Paul was the biggest supporter and still probably is the biggest supporter of Punk. Bruce and Paul are tightly connected, at least they were when I knew it, and I would assume with a situation like this, Bruce is not going to go out of his way to interview Punk to try to make a star. This is a Paul Heyman Hey,
Okay. Right. To that. Okay, then. So we are going to leave it there for now as far as ECW on Sci-Fi Episode 8. And you will get back to it in a few weeks when we talk about the main event, as well as Kurt Angle, who makes one of his very final appearances in WWE before his exodus to TNA, which is his own major story of the year. But we're going to go to some news now from 2026. And first off, Rey Mysterio potential injury on WWE Raw this past Monday. And normally it's kind of obvious what went wrong, but this one we're not so sure at all. Or even what's injured. So Stevie, over to you. What, if anything, went wrong?
yeah, this is something that I'm pretty confused about. We actually talked about it between segments, talking that maybe it was something before this, and it just kind of, it's so weird, but it also lends to the point I make many, many times, and probably will for the entire life of the show, is like the little things. You could do these big moves, all this stuff, but then something little will happen and completely do major things like tear your Achilles, blow your knee out, and you're like, where was that? It's just so much danger, inherent danger, no matter what you're doing, from the simplest stuff to the highest risk stuff. So let's see what we have right here. We're in a spot where I wouldn't want to be, right here on the outside. So let's check it out and see what happened. So he's grabbing his knee right here, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Let me go back and check it out. Let's slow it down a little bit. So it's his left knee. Oh, he actually slammed his knee down right here on the mat. The side of his knee. Do you think that like something popped from like basically from right here, right there, that the part of the knee, and you have more experience with a knee injury than I do. The knee slams down on this mat. And by the way, these aren't mat. These are taut, like tightly thin mats that are pretty hard. That's why I always say, like, the girls did a power bomb on the floor just this past month, and they get up and keep working. It's like, I feel like, get off me. Give me a couple minutes. But yeah, this kind of hurricanrana here, all I can think of is he slammed his left hip and knee against this mat. And of course, Austin Theory sells, but he's, all right. Well, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. He grabbed the left knee, right?
Yeah, but then he went straight to
He
the right knee,
switched
hobbling
knees.
about, didn't he?
He got up. Now he went from kind of, I'm just looking here. Normally, if you have that kind of injury, he's lunging basically, and that front leg, the left one, which basically he grabbed when he landed, is the one that pushes you up. And then your toe here is kind of like the balance point for a lunge. By the way, you got to work on your kettlebell lunges. I saw the Trainwell ad.
No, thank you.
They weren't great. They're better than mine, but still. Yeah, this is.
But dude, I can't squat, man. What can I tell you?
Now he's grabbing the left again.
Dude, it gets even worse because it goes from knee to ribs later on, and we don't even know with the ribs. That's the other issue. So if you go back again,
Hey, he's holding his ribs right there, laying there.
Yeah, but if you go back again, maybe to like 10 seconds, he does a baseball slide through the ring ropes. This is before here.
Oh, there it is on
Here we
Logan
go.
Paul. Oh, well, his ribs caught that rope, dude. That doesn't feel great. So he might have got rug burn, and like at the same time, the impact right there, right here, like that. He probably got the rope right between his ribs. That does not feel good right there. So yeah, this is like a series of unfortunate events for Rey Mysterio, isn't it?
Yeah, but then the knee thing disappears, and then he's holding his ribs throughout. And then at one point, he starts holding his shoulder as well. It's like he can't figure out what's hurt worst.
Was there a storyline based on the knee? Because there he is
No.
grabbing the left knee. There he is grabbing the left knee. He gets up. That should, like, he should have crumbled to that side. If your knee's out, or if it's even injured, or you bruised your knee hitting that hard mat, you should be like literally trying to pull yourself up by the apron, crawling, doing whatever you can to give yourself a base to go up, but he gets up. Now he's limping with the right. Am I imagining this? He's limping with the right knee, and then he starts with the left knee. And he's there, and the guy's checking on him. All right, could this technically be a what went right where Ray is trying to buy time so Logan Paul can interfere? He checks on Ray to give the opening for Logan Paul to shove him. Because think about it, it's all too like put together. All right, he's hurting his knee, he sells it, he puts the danger of the move within there, and Dragon Lee, correct, is right there to get shoved by Logan Paul. Why would Logan Paul do that if it wasn't supposed to be that? That guy's still green. So if that wasn't a spot and Ray's really hurt, why would he shove the guy off? And also, the referee is checking right there to make sure he's okay, but then backs up and then goes. How much further along was this?
30 seconds out.
How much further?
Oh, yeah, like 20, 30 seconds. That's it.
So we don't have the dead stop of this is a pattern with WWE, by the way, and I understand they want to keep people guessing, but as us, it's like, is he really hurt or is he not hurt? And then you get to the point, obviously we all care about Ray. He's just such a lovable babyface, but in a way, what a lot of people are, you're just like, whatever. He's hurt, not hurt. I'll find out next week. Like there's no...
Hey, has Ray ever been a heel? Has he ever worked heel?
Never. Sorry, unless in Mexico or somewhere, but I've never recalled Ray. He's been that one that came in like ECW where he's just going to wrestle the match against Psychosis and other people, but people love him. How could you not love Rey Mysterio? Now, in a vacuum, in theory, which would be a bad idea because he probably sells a ton of merch, imagine if we did the double turn with Dom and Ray and bought some more time for Ray. But Ray's in such a weird place, he may be the next one to retire for all we know. And look at Cena. They had to do the 180 real quick from being a heel to a babyface. I would not do that with Ray.
If you skip a few seconds away, he ends up getting the curb stomp from Austin Theory. He rolls right through it. It's kind of a textbook, really safe roll through. Then he gets pinned. And there's nothing that we can tell on the pin or even the move that looks like he's hurt himself at all. But then the next bunch of footage is that they get Ray out of harm's way, and he's holding his ribs all the way through. This bit of footage here, they've shuffled him onto the apron to get him out of the way of all the
they're not letting him get heat on Ray. They're
exactly
separating.
But there's something even more important here. I've edited out a lot of footage because it just went on too long. There was a bit where it looked like Bron Breakker was going to pick up Ray to give him the spear. I think he'd already given it to Penta, right?
That's when they held on and then he took that rough bump in the corner.
Yeah, so instead, the referee gets in the way, tells Bron to go away, etc. So then they give the spear again to Penta, which kind of makes no sense. You give like one to each. And then a few seconds after this, Ray's still on the apron, and then the doctor turns up to talk to Ray as well. And, he was holding his knee. He was holding his knee. And now he's holding his ribs. Right, where would he have hurt his ribs?
Let's put it together here. Now, this is weird because Dom faked an injury and then turned out to be a real injury. Here's what I'll break down, and I could be wrong, but my instinct is saying this.
I should say this. He faked an injury. That was a fake injury. Then a week later, he had a real injury.
That's what I'm saying. We were playing really weird in the past year with this, right? Seth Rollins, Dom, now this. But here's what I think this might be. Two things that happen together that have nothing to do with each other. And I'll explain. Ray did the thing with the Hurricanrana. He sold the wrong knee for a second and went back to the correct knee because what happens is he wanted to sell the Hurricanrana. Then when Dragon Lee came up to him to check on him, Logan Paul shoves Dragon Lee into the stairs. Do you see what I mean? That, I believe, was a spot. And Ray was selling so Dragon Lee could come over to check on him because it's like a wipeout move. And he throws him back in, sells for a second. Dragon Lee is the Iggy, as we say in wrestling, for Dragon Lee to come over and get taken out by Logan Paul temporarily. Ray slides in, does whatever. The baseball slide through the middle and the bottom rope. I believe the rope caught him in the ribs and might have popped a rib or bruised a rib or just you put yourself, you hit a coffee table or something with the side of your rib or even a corner of the wall. You're going to be like that for a while, have the wind knocked out of you. And you might be like, well, it's just a rope. Ray's midair coming down at a 45-degree angle. He kicks Logan Paul, and then the rope is already scraping and then biting him up there. That turned into a real, maybe not injury, but he got bit pretty hard by the rope. I'm hoping it's not an injury. And by the way, even if you just kind of half bruise your rib, it's going to take weeks to get back to normal. Everything hurts. So he might have severely got the wind knocked out of him. He might have had also a cramp there, a stitch, and that'll just bind you up completely. So I think the first spot is part of a spot, and he didn't fake an injury. He was working that left knee, forgot, went to the right, went back to the left, threw him in, because if he was really hurt, he wouldn't throw him in. Ray wouldn't do that to try to continue the match. They would call the audible. But that was a spot. Then it turned into something real and unrelated in the end.
The injury is not been diagnosed, at least publicly, and it's said to be not serious. He should be back soon. Just another thing to say is when the Vision, after this beatdown, were cheering, they cut very quickly to a pre-tape of a Natalia vignette as well. So it seemed really abrupt that they just got off the live feed to, go to a pre-tape thing as well. So that kind of tells me that there was definitely something that went a bit wrong.
Hey, by the way,
but also,
we evolved.
Yeah.
We evolved in WWE. One of my favorite promos is, "This is the real me." Natalia took it up a notch. "This is the new me."
She's natty again.
Yes.
Can you believe that the Hurricane Rana is the most dangerous move in wrestling?
It appears to be.
All of a sudden.
It appears to.
It's just like 4 people have been injured off it, or at least,
I was about to say, just amongst the Rey Mysterio family, it seems. And I don't mean to make a joke about it, because Dom was white hot, and why they're not continuing to have him do something, even commentary, it's crazy. But right here also, oh, there you are. WWE just blacked out the screen for half a second.
Okay.
Damn you, Hunter! Come on, man.
Do continue. Am I there?
You're there now. You're there.
Oh, that was
They're
weird.
getting to us. I have access to technology that only you and I can dream of. But I was going to say, in all seriousness, with Ray right now, and this is something like I would say with Ray, I would say with Punk, I would definitely, AJ might have limited matches. We'll talk about that. But they need to make Ray a special attraction. They need to make Ray's appearances and especially physicality a special moment or moments. Do you see when he's working like a workhorse? And he's in incredible shape, but it comes to a point where your bump card is starting to run out and then everything starts to hurt. He probably did this 2 million times in his career, but just now the body, not so much the injury, but the recovery from it is the hard part at this age, and especially at this stage of your wrestling career.
Yeah, he's had a couple of dozen matches in the last 12 months. But the thing is, I think this might be, if this is indeed, a legit injury is going to keep him out for it, this will be the 4th injury I think he's had in 12 months. And he's had 2 long layoffs as of 2015, and then he got hurt, had to take a few weeks off, toward the end of the year as well. And now this. At what point, as a professional, do you just get so terrified that you just, just every time you get in the ring, you're going to get hurt and then move on? And no one wants Ray to move on. I mean, his longevity has been incredible considering his style, but also, does he just feel brittle at this point?
No, I think Ray has given his body to this business. He's not brittle. It's just he's working the same exact style that he did in WCW, which was in the 90s. And then he was wrestling in Mexico before that. So you got to think, the guy looks like a young guy. He still looks and works like a young wrestler. But this dude's been working, what, over 30 years at this point? And I'm not talking about just an indie once every 3 months. He's been working pretty much full time and giving his body. I think we kind of get lured into this false perception that Ray's not a 30 plus year full time veteran with a style, quite frankly, that most of these current wrestlers wash out before they're 30 because they're bumped out. Here's what I would say for Ray, not that it makes any difference because a match is a match. Why can't we have Ray come out and just showcase his 5 moves of doom? Why can't we give Ray a local every once in a while? An easy match.
I'm going to blow your mind here. Ray started in the 80s.
40 years.
He started in 89 at the age of 14.
So we're talking about 37 years at this point.
7. Yeah. Pretty amazing. Pretty
and
amazing career he's had.
He's not working a Memphis punch and kick style. He's incredible. He's a unicorn. And by the way, I just want to say this. WWE, who do you have in the pipeline besides his son, which is a completely different character and style? Who do you have in the pipeline? Because think about it. I mean, there could be a whole segment or show about what WWE is going to look like because you have more people that are featured that are retiring voluntarily or involuntarily over the next year or two. Who are you going to replace this guy with?
Exactly. And somebody else who looks to be retiring imminently could be and I've done it for the first time in like a year or two. I put some bets on for Royal Rumble match winners and whatnot. And I accidentally put 10 pounds on AJ Styles to win. I meant to put it on Gunther, and I just completely had a brain fart. AJ Styles possibly retiring. I think everyone kind of figuring he is going to retire at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. Straight off the bat, do you think he's going to retire this weekend, considering all we know?
Well, AJ has been pretty vocal, if I'm not mistaken, that he's not going to have the John Cena retirement tour. He's not going to have a multitude of matches leading to a pinnacle, which I think he deserves. I get where he's coming from. Hey, when I say I'm done, I'm done. We're going to lead to the match. And then I don't know what after that for AJ. Hopefully an ambassador role, backstage role, whatever it might be. It's going to be far less enjoyable than wrestling. I know that for a fact for him. But I don't know what's right and what's wrong with this because as somebody I've worked with, somebody I've gotten to know many years ago, I would want them to maximize the AJ Styles career over weeks and months. I would love to see AJ go to WrestleMania and have his last match at WrestleMania with the biggest build that he could have. As a matter of fact, I would love for AJ to main event night 1 if it was possible. I know he got 2 world championships, but I believe that AJ is somebody just like Rey Mysterio, that has sacrificed his body for the business, that has gotten over, that is one of the few that come from TNA or an outside company that got more over in WWE. Think about that. In a time where they refused more times than not to push anybody but homegrown talent. AJ broke that barrier, and now I'm just kind of like thinking logically from a creative standpoint, I would want to maximize this and milk this for everything it's worth. But if it's AJ's wish that it would be, this is my last match, you don't need to give me 6 months of build, let's get Gunther over. I would think that they're going to make Gunther, if anything, stretcher AJ out, have him go out with the most amount of heat that he can put on Gunther and pass that along to him. Not pass the torch, but pass what you do to AJ to get Gunther over as much as possible. But I'm going to tell you right now, this company is the king of 50-50 booking. So your bet on AJ Styles may be a winner because it makes no sense.
Shinsuke Nakamura posted this and then pretty much immediately took it down. So we don't know if it was a planted thing or what. I think people are erring on the idea that it wasn't a planted story by WWE to throw people off. But here's what it said. During last year's Australia tour at a house show in Melbourne, AJ gave a speech after the match. Listening to it, it was clear he was thanking the fans, but somehow it also felt like he was hinting that retirement might not be that far away. The tour continued to Japan, and before the shows there, I asked him something. We were in a van on the way to the meet and greet, and I asked him, "When are you going to retire?" And he answered, "The Royal Rumble, I've already decided." So, I kind of think, yeah, I know what you mean it's like a bit anticlimactic, but is it just one of those things like when you know you're done, you're done? You don't need the fanfare?
Yeah, I just wish the company would give him his flowers a little bit more. I will give my fantasy booking of what I would hope would be AJ Styles' last match because I believe it could draw. If you have AJ, it would draw. AJ draws anyway. But I'm saying this specific scenario that AJ is going to wrestle his last match, but it's going to be in the Georgia Dome because he's a Georgia boy. And I believe they could sell very well in the Georgia Dome for AJ Styles' last match, which hopefully, I would love to see it coincide with like a Saturday night's main event or something special where just like with Cena and Gunther, you had your 3 NXT style matches or they're kind of matches you throw in there to get people, featured in a way where people get to know them. And you got that one match with the packages and you just take the blueprint from Cena and Gunther and you apply it to AJ and whoever he's going to wrestle his retirement match. I think anything short, Saudi Arabia is where there's the disconnect and where it doesn't feel like it has as much of an emotional stake to it. Or maybe AJ's just like, I want this to just be a great match, get Gunther over and be done with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm a person that's uncomfortable with being the center of attention most times. Maybe AJ just doesn't want to be the center of attention and have that on him, and he just wants to wrestle the match stress-free in a way and just go about his way.
I've got to ask you this, though. AJ Styles versus CM Punk on WWE Raw on Monday, as we record this, that could well have been his very last televised match as, far as, I would say, traditional linear television, but, on a weekly episodic television show. And, it's kind of a dream match, I guess, Punk and AJ. They've known each other 25 years, as they say. The crowd were molten hot for this match at the beginning of the show. And by the time they got to the main event, that crowd was pretty dead. And just like the match didn't seem to get going. And I've got to say, I was a bit disappointed for like this thing that's been, like an indie dream match from many, many years ago, finally on the big stage. It didn't seem to get going for whatever reason. It wasn't that great. It wasn't bad, but it just didn't. Was there something wrong with it? Did you enjoy it more than I did?
I don't know. I mean, it might have been something where the hype and the people anticipating it measured up further than the actual match did. I don't know. I thought the match was fine, but I think I was looking at it like a dream match scenario too. And I was actually looking at it like, damn, wouldn't this be cool to be AJ's last match if it was built up to a certain point to try to win the World Heavyweight title in his last match? Something like that. But I mean, this could be something to where Kevin Nash talked about it before because AJ doesn't look like he lost a step at all in every other match I watched. So is this an indictment on Punk? I'm not saying it is, but is this something to where AJ had to slow it down for Punk instead of Punk picking up the gears and the pace for AJ's style? This is a pure question for people in the comments because this is kind of a thing that maybe lends a little bit more smoke to the fire of Nash talking about Punk looking slow.
The match went 18 minutes and 10 seconds. I've got a theory of why, because, 9/10 of a match is the audience reaction. And my theory is that WWE, to a Toronto crowd as well, managed to bore them into submission over those, the first 2 hours. Because once again, just the pacing of these shows are so dragging the knuckles across the floor to get to do anything. And then by hour 2, everyone's bored. And so, and this match would have started, the first hour of, the first minute of hour 3. So they've sat through 2 hours of a kind of boring Raw, and by the end of it, they're a bit, even during the intros, they're a bit flat. Or was it just babyface versus babyface?
I was just going to say there's probably more elements that are coming up as we're talking about. They were trying to flesh this all out and trying to figure it out, just probably like a lot of other people. Number one, the psychology of booking a wrestling show, not just the match. You need to have your place where you are, I hate to use the saving it for a main event thing or trying to warm people up to the main event, but that's your job. And you can create moments and memories during your segment. But initially, it's kind of like, I think, not bored, but they tend to tire the people out too much. So by the time you're supposed to pay attention to a match, you're kind of exhausted. You're looking at your watch, you're like, man, it's been a long night. Do you kind of feel that way sometimes? Here's
Yeah,
what
it's like they ignore the fans. That's the thing. They ignore
Mm.
the fans live too much to produce a
they
television
ignore the
show.
fans, but then they
Uh,
want the fan. They make the fans do the sing along with Seth and all the other stuff. So it's like a bipolar kind of presentation of production. Here's what I would have done. First, I would have maybe given this a week or two to build up, to say this. So then Punk and AJ, why can't guys like AJ saying, this is going to be great. I have an opportunity. There's not much time left for me. So for me to get maybe my last world title opportunity, I'm going to make the most out of it. I'm not saying to people I'm going to win it, but I'm going to make the most out of it. Punk still being a babyface, but still being CM Punk and being more than somewhat polarizing, right? Turns around and say, well, you think you're gonna have your feel good moment at my expense? He goes, I respect you, but I guess I'm gonna let the fans down and I'm gonna let you down. And then it starts getting a little bit more like chippy with them. Now, what do Toronto fans love to do? They love to cheer and boo. Hogan and Rock, WrestleMania 18 should have proved these fans want to cheer and boo, right? We just have to have an idea who it is. And maybe the company thought the fans would decide who does what. But I would err on the side of they're going to boo Punk more than AJ 10 times out of 10 in most cases, unless AJ was a heel. But if they had worked AJ Styles style match and had Punk bumping and selling for him and him out wrestling Punk and Punk starting to get frustrated, then Punk starting to turn into the old CM Punk during that part of the match, then having kind of like the choice of, oh, AJ's hurt. Do I go? Do I not? And that hesitation could cost him the match. And then Punk goes over off of that. And then they all get along afterwards. But at least they carried someone to cheer and boo for during the match. Do you kind of feel that a little bit more? I didn't feel any of that during the match.
Yeah. And do you know what? With 18 minutes with those two, I don't even think they got going. Hey, at least it had the worst finish to a Raw in living memory. But just Finn Balor just turned up and interfered, and that was
don't
it.
get me started on that. Based on our view count, nobody watched that clip. But I want to go back. They were doing the Greg Valentine match. It took 15 to 20 minutes just to warm up, right?
Drove me correct. Right, we've got to get to this next bit. Oh, actually, just before we do, if AJ Styles does indeed retire at the Royal Rumble, at least he can dedicate himself full time to not being the worst Madden player ever.
Well, he better keep wrestling because he has no hope when it comes to that. Maybe we can have a rematch somewhere in the future. Here's something, it's in the news right now with Bill Belichick not being a first ballot Hall of Famer in the NFL Hall of Fame. If AJ does retire at the Rumble, this would be a case where I would make him an instant induction into the Hall of Fame this year. I absolutely would, because that would be exciting and that would be fresh in people's minds. Don't wait until next year. This would be something I think that it would stand out. And if anything, who's in the Hall of Fame class this year? Stephanie
McMahon. Yeah.
Who else?
She'll be the
Is
headliner.
Hunter in it again? They made the executive decision.
Wasn't that last year?
I'm not sure. It
In
runs
my
together.
mind, that was last year.
AJ should headline the Hall of Fame this year.
Never going to happen,
No,
Stephanie.
no, it's not going to happen. Dude, she's going to have Shane's hat on and everything. We're going to see it all.
Right, let's get to the Rumble build. This has got to be the worst build to a Royal Rumble pay-per-view I think I've ever heard in my life.
We have one entrant, Cody.
No, that's not true. That's not true. We've got, for the men's, 14 now.
Oh.
But and 15 for the women, which still leaves more than half the slots available, and we're 3 days out.
Can
I correct
myself? Sorry, we're interrupting each other. Cody's the only one who came out into the ring on the microphone and announced it for the people to react.
No, he wasn't, because guess what happened on Raw?
What?
Javon Evans came out and declared that he was going to be part of the Royal Rumble during the break. Keep in mind, he also signed his WWE Raw contract during the break. This is now his character. He comes out and does important things when no one watches.
Yeah, because the comments said, James, and everybody, and please comment below, or if you're that person, we got pushback that said, the Javon Evans, I saw it on YouTube or social media or something, and it was really well done. Yes, that may be true, but put it on the show. That's what we were saying. We're fans of Javon Evans. We want to see him on the actual show. It could be the best segment ever, but if nobody, this is the dark match from the Hammerstein Ballroom. Hey, we had a great dark match. Well, maybe the Vault will release it 10 years from now.
If this is the Goldberg retirement speech, hey, well, it probably got more views on social media, but it's like, yeah, way to make it unimportant.
So 2 people have announced officially, 12 more have been announced. Where were these announced? On the website, on the YouTube channel, on a pre-show thing? Like
here, there, and everywhere. But here's something that's going to be even more infuriating for you, because and you watched it, so you must know. Javon Evans could, in the ad break, come out to declare for the Royal Rumble. But when Finn Balor does this, Adam Pearce says, no, you can't be in the Rumble, it's full. And once again, there's only 14 men declared for it. It's like, how he's not a big... There's room for a small one in the Rumble. I know Jericho might be coming back and Lesnar might be coming back, but there's plenty of room. It made zip sense, man. Like, terrible build to everything's terrible about this build.
But that's
for the Rumble.
But that's what I'm saying too. It's full. This is where we go back to the writer's room on Unreal. When they're announcing it, and then somebody could just say a young writer who knows if he's in the bottom of a river right now with cement shoes. But that guy or anybody else would say, okay, we need to start have people announce on the show, and then we see Bruce turn red and nobody look at the guy. Or how's it full? Like the production meeting that day, if they're looking through word for word and Pierce says, you can't be in it, it's full. And then somebody goes, the person who's about to be fired instantly goes, well, how's it full? We've only had 2 announcements, one during the break. And who are the other 12? Enjoy the show. So I have no idea why there's not checks and balances when it comes to this stuff. This is let's make it make sense. Let's make it make some semblance of sense. But no, you're no fun. Let's get through this week. I don't know, man. And to me, this is just like, did Saudi Arabia or somebody say, we want the most amount of surprise entrances, of returns, and of pops during the Rumble than ever? Because it feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's fine and all that, but the Finn Balor thing, and I'm going to stick with Finn Balor, because, hey, at least they were talking about the Rumble. They weren't talking about it until 2 weeks before the event. Saturday night's main event was even worse promoted. So that'll be by far the least watched of the rebooted episodes. And
you want me to give you a fact on that?
Go on.
I didn't even know Saturday night's main event happened until I had to watch the highlights for the Russo show.
Yeah,
I didn't even know
they barely
happened.
mentioned it. They barely mentioned it. But here's the thing. For Finn Balor, he attacked CM Punk, right? At the end of the show of Raw, and that would kind of, I guess, hint that he was wrestling CM Punk at the Royal Rumble, but he isn't. So now that's just for another show. So you ruined the last Raw, of AJ Styles' career, I guess, for a match that we still don't quite know when that's even going to happen. And then you've got Drew McIntyre wrestling Sami Zayn, which no one thinks Sami Zayn's got a chance. And then there's Gunther and AJ Styles, which we pretty much think AJ is going to lose. And then you've got the Women's Rumble that I don't think anyone cares about. The only one that's really, out there, open, and kind of interesting, but ultimately, I think there's only going to be 3 people in contention for the Men's Rumble, is Roman Reigns, Braun Breaker, maybe Cody Rhodes. Is there anybody else even partially likely to win it? I mean, if Gunther enters for it, maybe, but he's already said on TV, I mean, he's a heel though, so it doesn't matter, that he doesn't intend on working twice. So if we take that as read, I don't think Jacob Fatu's going to win. I mean, who else is there?
Well, LA Knight could make a return, but he's not going to win the Rumble. That would be very out of left field with that. You saying Sammy has no chance of beating Drew? I think the way they book Sammy, there might be a chance.
You think?
I hope there's not. I want to see Drew go on that run to WrestleMania. He's probably the best heel champion we've had since Roman Reigns, but in a different way, where he's a little more snarky, he trolls people. He tells a lot of truths too. I really love that. But, and I can see them eventually turn on babyface like they did Roman Reigns if they keep running with him. This is like who can win the Rumble, but it's not exciting. Like whoever wins the Rumble feels like it would be kind of flat in a way. I'd still push in a way. For me, it's got to be Cody or Roman. Unless it's a surprise return that they really want to strap the rocket to. But Cody with chapter 3 of the story, I don't know. Cody's the exception to the rule that he was pretty strong even as a 2-time champion. Think about that. He had a 2-year story. It culminated to that. He lost the belt. He won it back. And it seems like he was every bit as strong as he was during the first reign. So I don't know if 3 times the charm. I don't know if that's going to jump the shark. That's not for me to say, but I can't see a whole lot of people being inserted into him. Remember this, we still have Backlash. So if they make the wrong choice at the Rumble, guess what? I don't mind that so much. That your ticket is not totally punched to WrestleMania. There's still an obstacle or two before you get there, if you're a babyface.
Oh, hang on. Backlash is post-WrestleMania, so what's in between Rumble
No, it's Elimination Chamber. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's CTE today.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I just don't know.
Elimination Chamber. The most dangerous match as a shoot right before WrestleMania, and nobody will get hurt.
Is it?
Dude, that cage is real.
Mm. Have
You've never...
I know you've never done one, but have you actually been in it?
Yes. And guess what I wanted to do right away? Get the hell out. It's real thick chain. And it's the platform. It's the sewer grade from New York City. It's every bit as, dude, you're begging to bump into Andre Hogan ring after that.
Okay, just before we shut down then this show, can you name anybody else that you predict is going to be a surprise or legendary entrant? So, everyone's been saying Jericho, Brock Lesnar is going to be an easy one. Probably LA Knight's returning at the Rumble. Anybody else that you think realistically could come back that you would like to see?
It wouldn't make any sense, and it would go back off of the finish of the match or go
Yokozuna,
back on that.
Ultimate Warrior. It's Saudi Arabia.
No, they've already asked for Hogan and everybody. Goldberg.
Hmm? You don't think he will,
$2 million for Taker, maybe?
Maybe.
Michelle
McCool.
Michelle McCool will win the men's Rumble.
Yes,
right.
I'm hoping so, yeah.
What about Triple H? He just got on the cover of the video game. Medically speaking, I don't want to see this dude. I don't want to see that. But man, it might be like, well, it's, there's no drawing power. I got to take it off and put on the tights, get the Lemmy music set up, and let's do it.
I heard that as the Lemming music. What if he came out to, that little looping song on Lemmings?
Doink, they're asking for Doink too.
They should. Yeah, but anyone could beat Doink.
What do you think? Is there anybody that could just come out as a nostalgic legend that you don't have to worry and have a defibrillator at ringside for?
Steve Blackman. Do you know who
you said as Steve? Do you think? I don't think he'd be at the Rumble, but do you think the Saudis want Steve Austin eventually?
Oh, dude, of course they do, because they're hoping to get The Rock to WrestleMania next year. Hey, keep in mind they pay $300 million for 2 shows.
Mm-hmm.
They're maniacs, for spending money they'll never.
But that's what I mean.
Back.
If they're paying all the money for this show, right? Will we see Strong get back in the ring? Will we see Goldberg unretired from one night? Wild card, pal. Will we see the people? Because I have a feeling WrestleMania 43 is going to be one like retro Raw or one big Legends Battle Royal.
I'd be up for that, but I like the retro. It was like one in 2007 that I really liked, and they had Jim Neidhart come back. Actually, they had Steve Blackman in that like little
Was that the
battle
one
royal
with
as well.
Jake and the Snake? No, that was before that.
No, I think that was before that.
No,
But I
it was
remember they
after.
doing that one, and that was good. And maybe Gangrel was in it and stuff. But I just like every nostalgic Raw they seem to do over the years. They just get more and more depressing. So I don't want to see like a big Raw deal. Like reunion thing. Oh, look at them all. The surviving members of the Raw cast, and now they're all 50 years older. So I don't want to see that.
What about this? Do you think, because it's Saudi, do you think they're going to bring back people like Mansoor and other people to be featured on the Rumble? Because,
Oh, they've just signed like some Saudi Arabian like arm wrestler or something like that. So I'll guarantee he'll probably get a spot.
dude, the thing I would love more than anything, and this harkens back to my indie days with indie promoters putting themselves over in battle royals and belts and major angles. Do you think there's a chance?
Ed Koski.
Koski, no, he won't get up off the chair and make a noise. He'll just sit there quietly and look at his phone and call 911. He dialed 911 for young Ryder because he's about to have to go to the emergency room. Turkey likes winning the Royal Rumble.
Oh, the
you think they're going to put
gobbledygooker.
over somebody from the royal family?
They could, yeah, the Crown Prince himself. I thought when you said Turkey, I was thinking gobbledygooker. What if Turkey Al-Sheikh was the gobbledygooker?
He likes that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he likes that, you know.
I'll tell you what, this Royal Rumble WrestleMania might win a Gooker Award from the Wrestle Crap or inductees.
I hope so.
The Gobbledygooker Award.
Just before we get off this, why does WWE all of a sudden feel like they don't have to promote anything properly at all? Is this an indictment on the fact that they've just gotten lazy because they've got tons of guaranteed money? Or is it an indictment on the fact that they've got 40 writers and none of them can agree on anything? And therefore they're, kind of promoting major shows has kind of fallen by the wayside?
Well, also, the writers aren't allowed to apparently pitch ideas or go against any other ideas. It's really just two people talking and everybody else agreeing. It's Triple H and Bruce. And even then, Road Dogg can't go back to his best friend and say, hey, I disagree with this, at least not in public. I feel like it's a mixture from maybe that's why Bruce says 4 matches a show, because there's so many shows. How can you promote or book anything, much less? It feels like if everything's a special and everything's a big show and everything's a PLE level event, then nothing is. Dude, Saturday Night's Main Event is one of the reasons I finally, and people might hate this, finally decided I wanted to be a wrestler in 1988. And then I went to that show at the Civic Center with the Midnight Express and Tully and Arn in Philadelphia Civic Center, where they won the belts and they were dual champions. And I never saw those two events created Stevie Richards. Now Saturday Night's Main Event is literally Shotgun Saturday Night. That's all it is. Booking wise, promotion wise.
And it was good as well. That's what's the most depressing thing. It was a really good show. But I forgot it was on and I watched it after the fact.
But it gave the Saturday Night's Main Event, the legacy of that show, that was the embodiment of network special. Like, wow, this is going to be a big deal. And you're right, it was a good show. People bumped and worked their butts off and probably has the lowest ratings in Saturday Night Main Event history. That's my prediction.
Just my interest is like ESPN. And I mentioned this right at the bottom. I mentioned this on Dutch's show as well, is that so few people now watching the Raw show live on Netflix that they're selling advertising on 30-second spots for as low as $9,000 for a 30-second advertisement. And I was thinking, damn, we could...
So we can advertise the show.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. No one to watch it, though. No one to watch no one to watch our plug, unfortunately. But I thought that'd be perfect. We should do that.
So Roadkill just texted me, by the way.
Oh,
this is all he texted me.
Jeez. Isn't that the thing from the end of Weird Science?
Chet?
Yeah, when he's
The
like
brother
this, like, he's just like this like brown mound.
Well, he's not answering my question, so I'll just assume the best for him.
Okay, then. Right, yeah, pump in for more information, and I'll wedge it in to a future episode if I can. Take a drink. Until then, we are going to be back on possibly Monday for an early episode of the Stevie Richards Show, because we are going to be reviewing the Royal Rumble event, as Stevie almost instinctively yawns at me as I say that, but we're going to be doing that. So once again, thank you so much.
My mouth closed. We know each other so well. I was like, yawning. I look like the end of Big Trouble in Little China when the guy starts to explode.
Dude, that's why I put bets on the Rumble, because Rumble was always my favorite anyway. But you've got to have like someone to cheer for. You know, come on, you could win me a $5. I could go to the pub and have nearly a pint of beer.
I am so old that I remember when the boys used to joke about, man, these people would just bet on pro wrestling. Now here we are.
Hey, you used to be able to do it in the 20s, and then you could start doing it in the 2010s for whatever reason. But there you go. Hey, that's one of the interesting things about the Brock Lesnar thing where he defeated The Undertaker, is because on the last day, there was a massive swing of betting on Brock Lesnar to win. Because he was 13-1 at one point.
Would you take a job as a writer just for a few weeks leading up to WrestleMania in order to place your bets in on that? Or would you think that
because they limit the amount of money you put on it. So it's like, for us, the equivalent of like $30. Like, that's the most you can bet on a single wrestling outcome. So you're not going to make your fortune. You're not going to be Dick Whittington.
I just thought you would just be like trying to get the finish you betted on booked and try to do some. I mean, everybody's doing insider trading anyway now, so what's the difference?
Yeah, well, crime is legal, of course. That's probably how Turkey Al-Sheikh got so rich. He had insider knowledge because he liked it.
You better be careful.
Right.
It's the winner of the 2026 Royal Rumble you're talking about.
Exactly. All respect to Turkey Al-Sheikh. Right, we have to go. Thank you so much for watching. We are normally out every single Friday. Of course, this episode will be. The next episode might be out on Monday, maybe Tuesday. We'll see how quickly we can get that episode turned over. And all there is left is for Stevie to thank all of you, especially the Patreon fans.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for watching this particular episode of the Stevie Richards Show. We appreciate it. Episode 82. When we get to episode 122, I will forget and think this is episode 95. So just like I did for the Sabu tribute episode. But please subscribe, click the bell to get notified. And of course, most importantly, comment below. Let us know your thoughts on everything we talked today about, as well as the clips. I also want to thank everybody on patreon.com/Stevie Richards. $1 thank you, brother tier. $8 producer tier. As James says each and every week, strength to strength, growing at all times. Watch alongs every Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Show notes, by the way, have the show notes up right now. People already commenting on Patreon about episode 82. And of course, every Friday morning, the show before the show, the Stevie Richards Show pre-show. Also, what I'm going to do is, whenever something gets clipped or we can't put the full segment up due to content ID, those go up as bonus segments as well on Patreon, which happens way too much for our taste right now. So thank you once again for James is now, he's making a face off camera about that.
Well, I just went on the Patreon and I was like, damn, we've got like another 50 people signed up since like last week.
So amazing, so humble and so grateful by it. Thank you so much, James, for joining me on Patreon each and every week for the watch-alongs. Thank you so much for watching episode 82 of the Stevie Richards Show. See you in a few days, actually 3 days maybe or less, for the Saturday night's main event. Oh, good Lord. What Rumble. Show is it? The Royal Rumble. Sorry, Turkey. Aha, aha, aha. Turkey likes that.